Part 9. Restarting the Myth. Author, Feng Chao Huang. Chapter 81. Wayne clenched his 5 fingers and made a gesture of drawing his sword. The strong breath of death spread out, and the grey mist washed away the waves of white foam that surrounded him from all directions. The attribute restraint made it easier to wipe out the white foam created by life magic. Wayne. What's going on? I haven't drawn my sword yet? Is my swordsmanship so accurate? A greasy white coat walked out of the void, and Gangplank held the death pendant in his hand. The grey mist swam around his body and condensed into a pale skull above his head. God is not a tool, and chaotic faith is not without cost. The hand he held the pendant turned into white bones, and his face was also covered with a thick layer of death. Wayne was almost numb. He was interrupted twice in a row when switching vests. He couldn't help but wonder if Gangplank did it on purpose. Fortunately, Gangplank was one step faster and appeared a little slower. Even if it was only 1 second, Wayne would pull out the Shadow Nightmare and the Death Knight's vest would be exposed. That would be a headache. I said, no one can hurt you today with me here. Plank grinned at Wayne, not missing any opportunity to improve his favorability. He looked coldly at Sydney, who was parasitized by the Lord of the Void, and shook his head in self-blame. Sydney, I'm late, but don't worry, you still have a long life, I will heal you no matter what. Damn bastard. The Lord of the Void cursed, scolding Sydney for incompetence and Plank for meddling in other people's business. He was just a little bit away, just a second away from getting Wayne. Marshall, go away, I have destroyed most of your thinking, you can't be my opponent, go back to the void, that is your grave. Magic props surrounded Plank, one hand was white bones and the other hand was holy light. He used 2 different styles of faith freely, suppressing the humanoid tentacle monster and making it limp into a pool of mud. I won't leave. I won't leave no matter what I say today. The Lord of the Void roared sharply, white foam rolled out like a waterfall, and the surging torrent hit the death fog, drowning it in a suicide attack. Plank was shocked and opened the life force field defense to block Wayne in time. This guy is crazy. He actually brought all his thoughts to the chosen continent. Plank muttered to himself, looking at the innocent Wayne in shock. He tried his best to imagine the value of the latter, but he didn't expect that he still underestimated it. Why does the Lord of the Void always chase you and spare no expense for this? Wayne scratched his head, maybe it's because I helped to wipe out the Earth Core cult, he holds a grudge and must kill me. If it's not for this reason. It may also be that the sunk cost is too high. In order to prevent the initial investment from going down the drain, he bet all his chips on a comeback. Wayne talked about various possibilities, implying that Plank had found the wrong person. He was a magician apprentice, how could he understand what the evil god was thinking? That's right. Plank suppressed his doubts. Now is not the time to think about these things. The Lord of the Void has come in full form. Although he is not as rational and wise as in his heyday, his crazy thinking is still extremely powerful after studying the Void for a long time. Plank waited. Today, either the Lord of the Void will die or the Lord of the Void will die. In order to protect the city of London above, he spread out the life force field with all his strength, dragged the Lord of the Void into the endless darkness, and left a black light ring to protect Wayne. The ring was suspended in the air, and the dark curtain was lowered to isolate Wayne from the surroundings. The black light ring represents the faith of the goddess of darkness. When used for defense, it can make most magic silences ineffective. It has many uses, and the specific use method depends on the owner's thinking. Like the Shadow Nightmare, this is also a rare magic prop. According to the level of Gangplank's legendary wizard, it is not an exaggeration to say that it is a legendary prop. But the upper limit of the black light ring is legendary, and it is hard to say for the Shadow Nightmare. Wayne hid under the protection of the ring, and was still depressed about the failure of the transformation. After all, the vest is a vest, and it is very inconvenient to use at a critical moment. Wayne was very curious, why Gangplank had so many faith props, and he was so powerful when he took out any one of them. Is he also cheating? He muttered, looking at the ring above his head, eager to try to put it on his hand. Just like when he coveted the four elements, he had ideas but didn't put them into action. Moreover, compared to the black light ring, he envied Gangplank's ability to jump back and forth between complex beliefs. Gangplank's success was like the light of dawn, dispelling darkness and opening a door in front of him. Let's not beat around the bush. If Wayne wants to take this path, he wants to hug all the long legs of the goddesses. About half an hour later, two figures appeared in the sewer. Gangplank's beard was stained with blood, and he sat cross-legged on the ground panting like a dog. Opposite was a muddy tentacle monster. The Lord of the Void tried to reshape his body, but because his mind was severely damaged, he failed every time. Wayne understood that both sides were injured, and the Lord of the Void was only a little bit of blood. After rounding off, Gangplank won. Dingling dang. Ordinary small objects fell to the ground, and Gangplank, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, was like a street vendor, with messy props in front of him. The black light ring on Wayne's head also fell off. Plank panted and grabbed Wayne's trouser leg. Quick, tell me which god you believe in. I'll give you the spell-casting props, and you come to kill the Lord of the Void. After saying that, he smiled bitterly. He didn't expect the Lord of the Void to be so crazy that he would drag him down with him even if he died together. Luckily, there are many gods behind him, otherwise, he would have fallen to the ground. What the hell, didn't you just say you would protect me? Wayne's eyes widened, and seeing that the Lord of the Void opposite him had a tendency to reshape his body, he said decisively, Goddess of Nature, my teacher is a disciple of the Goddess of Nature, and if nothing unexpected happens, so am I. Goddess of Nature, Goddess of Nature. Plank picked and chose on the ground, and arranged three small objects. In addition to the bracelet of nature, there are also the medal of the sun and the statue of the moonlight. The three goddesses formed the Life Alliance, allowing disciples to learn the other two kinds of faith magic in the alliance. In short, the disciples of the Goddess of Nature can learn the two kinds of magic of the sun and moonlight. In Planck's view, this is a typical case of being both a person and a person. Faith is by no means the only one. The so-called Life Alliance is no different from the Free Mage Alliance. The circle has been reduced to only 3 beliefs. In other words, Wayne claimed to believe in the Goddess of Nature, and not only could he use the bracelet of nature, but also the medal of the sun and the statue of the moonlight. Out of caution, Wayne was only a magician apprentice, with limited thinking and magic power, unable to stimulate the full power of the natural bracelet, so Planck asked Wayne to bring all 3 props. Planck, if one doesn't work, bring more. God, it won't be wrong to believe in more. Wayne didn't know Planck's outrageous thinking. The legendary wizard was knowledgeable and there must be a reason for this arrangement. He put the 3 small props in his arms, thought induction, and fully activated the magic power, and at the same time triggered 3 kinds of faith magic. Rightward arrow. Boom. The magic vortex rose from the ground, and the wind wall was quickly opened like a tornado. Before Planck could react, he was filled with wind, flew into the air with a roar, and fell out fiercely. His head hit the ground and broke a piece of cement. He ignored the small props that fell all over the ground, stared at Wayne with wide eyes, and his stunned face was full of disbelief. This level of thinking, this level of magic, overwhelmed most of the silver wizards. Is this a magician apprentice? What surprised Planck was not only Wayne's thinking and magic, but also his perfect control of 3 different divine powers, the vitality of nature, the brightness of the sun, and the tranquility of moonlight. His body was not affected by the divine power and perfectly preserved himself. Is it because the 3 beliefs have reached a balance in his body? No, I can't do it, let alone him. He is also favored by God. So that's it, it's his physique, or it may be his bloodline. Planck muttered to himself, his eyes shining unconsciously. Wayne may be special, one of the few or even the only one, but he proved that the Free Mage Alliance was not wrong, and everyone's theory was right. Boom. With 3 magic props, Wayne felt hot and cold on his body, but fortunately it was not a big problem. The strange energy that poured into his body was suppressed by the Book of Greed, and he immediately became light. The Book of Greed blocked the negative effects of divine power, allowing him to cast 3 different magics at will, but he could not control different magic attributes at the same time like Planck, and needed the Book of Greed to switch for him. Enough. Wayne clenched his fists, waved his hand and pulled out the golden longsword that condensed light. After thinking about it, he realized that hacking and other tricks would not kill the tentacle monster. He simply waved his hand, and the magic frenzy pried the real world and cast dense golden long swords. The sun hit the Lord of the Void like raindrops. Each long sword was a highly concentrated scorching flame, which made the Lord of the Void scream continuously. The original few thoughts evaporated a large area under the scorching. It's so cool to bully the weak. People's sorrows and joys are not connected. The screams of the Lord of the Void inspired Wayne. He switched to natural divine power, waved his hand and sprinkled a large number of spores. The parasitic Lord of the Void grew a red umbrella all over his body, extracting the opponent's vitality and then multiplying twice and 3 times. The magic power receded like a tide, and Wayne felt a little tired. He was ready to try the method of using moonlight. Once he switched, his tired spirit was thrown into the embrace of tranquility. In an instant, he was full of energy, and even most of his magic power was replenished. If you are poor, you can use tactics to intersperse, and if you are rich, you can blow it up. Wayne had no worries, and he bombed it in various ways. The more he bombed, the more excited he became. Seeing that Planck's eyes were not right, he hurriedly stopped him and said, "Be gentle, don't blow up the sewer. There are many kinds of magic. Don't always think about doing it recklessly. It makes sense, but reckless work is so good, why should I use my brain?" Wayne found his own way of magic. No matter what, he just bombed it, but he also admitted that Planck was right. He couldn't just take care of himself and didn't care about the feelings of the sewer. Wayne stopped bombing and used spore parasitism to wear down the Lord of the Void's thinking. In terms of efficiency, it was far less efficient than wholesale Sun Sword. He turned to look at Gangplank, wanting to hear what the legendary wizard had to say. Gangplank threw the death pendant to Wayne. For some reason, Marshall has learned life magic, his mind and life are extremely tenacious, you can try the power of death. Wayne nodded, and before Gangplank could say anything else, he quickly took the death pendant, switched modes, and wholesaled the death sword on a large scale. The effect was outstanding, and the Lord of the Void screamed more painfully than before. "Gangplank! So you only know this one trick, right?" Gangplank didn't want to comment on Wayne's lack of imagination. Usefulness is king, and the rest is empty. What he wanted to say was that you must not use the death pendant together with the props of the 3 goddesses. It was well known that the goddesses were not in harmony. As a legendary wizard, he could barely suppress the backlash, but Wayne would definitely. "Oh, because it was you, the goddesses stopped quarreling." Wayne once again showed Planck his extraordinariness. He controlled the 2 faith magics of death and the sun at the same time, but he was not affected at all. This was no longer a genius, but a natural freak. In Planck's view, Wayne was simply a disciple tailored for him by the gods, destined to carry the banner of the Free Mage Alliance. He said that his teacher was a disciple of the Church of Nature, which was a bit troublesome. Stealing other people's students would affect his reputation. "My reputation is terrible, it doesn't matter." 10 minutes later, Planck recovered some spirits, came to Wayne with a bunch of small props, changed a prop for him from time to time, and tossed the Lord of the Void in various ways. Wayne accepted everyone who came. At this time, killing the Lord of the Void was no longer important. The Book of Greed had a good meal tonight. Although each dish is a delicate side dish, the plate is smaller than the sauce dish, and it can be regarded as a dipping sauce at most, but it is varied and has all kinds of flavors. The Book of Greed cheered, "This table tonight is more comfortable than entering the gate of truth, it is comfortable, and Wayne is comfortable too." 20 minutes later, the Lord of the Void's thoughts were evaporated by the sun, and the white foam was corroded by death. Before dying, he roared at Wayne and issued more than a dozen vicious curses in a row. Wayne gave a middle finger in return, turned his head and looked at Plank, presented facts and reason. The props were Plank's, and the latter had to bear at least 99% of the evil god's curse. Plank didn't care. While checking whether Sydney could be rescued, he comforted, "I am cursed by patients thousands of times every year, and I am still alive and well. If curses are really useful, don't talk about me, all gods will fall." Wayne, this is the truth, but you have no reverence for the gods at all. Is this really good? Plank, the Lord of the Void is dead, why are you still holding my treasure, young man? Is it really okay for you to pretend to be stupid like this? 5 minutes later, Plank groaned and searched for the last prop from Wayne's socks. Too shameless, you are still a believer of the goddess of nature, but you actually hid the bracelet in your socks. Where is your devout belief and your unyielding awe? Plank scolded loudly, showing the majesty of the white-bearded old wizard, roaring like a blower for a long time, and then said, "Give up, you are not a qualified believer, not now, and not in the future. Join us, the Free Mage Alliance needs talents like you." It turns out that you are a member of the Free Mage Alliance, no wonder you believe everything. Wayne was stunned, thinking of the Nelson family's manuscript, and subconsciously said, "Is someone else's wife better?" Hey, you actually know this connection code. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 82. Seeing Wayne mention the contact code of the Free Mage Union, Plank was very surprised and asked where he got it from. Faced with such a kind old man, Wayne did not hide anything and told the truth about the cause and effect. "Before I met my teacher, I met a gentleman from the Free Mage Union. He said that I had amazing talent and it would be a pity not to learn magic. Then he explained the advanced theory of the Free Mage Union to me. Respect but not loyalty, faith but not absolute. We talked a lot, and he also gave me a Bible to read when I have nothing to do. He is a good man." When I asked him what his name was before leaving, he smiled and said nothing, then left, saying that he was going to pursue the door of truth. Wayne recalled the past, sighed for a long time, and asked curiously, "Dean Plank, what is the door of truth?" "This is a bit complicated, you will know it later." Plank said it in passing, and did not popularize the door of truth to Wayne. Even if he was born a freak, it was too early to contact him now. He was very happy that Wayne had been indoctrinated with the beliefs of the Free Mage Alliance early on, and then asked, "If that's the case, why do you have a teacher who is a disciple of nature?" "Humanity." Wayne said with a serious face, "People should be grateful and repay kindness, and can't take it for granted. The teacher helped me when I was in the most difficult time, provided me with food and drink, taught me knowledge, and helped me solve many problems. I remember this kindness in my heart, and I am honored to be her student." Plank nodded repeatedly. In this materialistic society, there are not many young people like Wayne who know how to be grateful. Bad news, young people are grateful, and it's hard to dig corners. Good news, young people are grateful and repay kindness. They saved him once tonight. Moral kidnapping can dig people over. Plank smiled innocently and patted Wayne on the shoulder, "How about joining our Free Mage Alliance?" "Thank you for your kindness, Dean." My teacher believes in the goddess of nature, and I also. You can continue to believe in the goddess of nature. The Free Mage Alliance doesn't care about that. Planck raised his eyebrows and saw that Wayne had already been tempted. He had to stick to the bottom line because of the favor, and tempted. Guess how many registered believers our Free Mage Alliance has? So, it doesn't affect you. It's your business who you want to believe in. The Free Mage Alliance will not interfere. On the contrary, we strongly encourage belief. Planck whispered. The Church of Nature has suffered heavy losses recently, and we have recommended many people to convert to the goddess of nature. Seeing that Wayne was still silent, Planck did not let Wayne make a promise on the spot. It can be seen that instead of expecting Wayne to break the bottom line, it is better to let the teacher change his mind. Planck knows this job very well. He has a complete set of procedures. He sent several letters to the other party in the name of the director of the Red Leaf Forest Lunatic Asylum. He first threatened the other party that his condition was serious, and then said that he could still save him if he took action. After several times of tossing and turning, the other party had to give him whatever he wanted. Planck knew why the Lord of the Void wanted to get Wayne at all costs. It is not shameful to say that he is the same as the Lord of the Void, and he also covets Wayne's body. At the same time, Planck is sure that Wayne's teacher is the same as him and the Lord of the Void. Everyone covets Wayne's body. But, shameless, after all, he is a disciple of the goddess of nature, and he is the same as the Lord of the Void. Planck can be double standard. Others covet Wayne's body with ill intentions and are mean, but he covets Wayne's body with an open mind and is noble. Wayne, what's your teacher's name? As a student, it's not convenient for me to call the teacher's name directly. I can only tell you her position in the natural church. The dean can find out her name by checking. Oh, she has a position, Planck smiled slightly. It's better to have a position. His process is most suitable for handling civil servants. Lady, you don't want to lose your job because of mental problems. High Priest of the Windsor branch of the Natural Church and the headquarters of London. Ah, this. Natural Church, headquarters of London. Sci-fi sat in front of the spacious desk and wrote her name on the document with a big stroke of the pen. The appointment letter of the 4 priests of the headquarters of London. Some time ago, she attended a party in the cemetery and learned that the 2 priests Lawrence and Dana colluded with the Church of Death secretly, intending to subvert the church regime with the hands of the Death Knight. The 2 priests' methods were too despicable, so despicable that Sci-fi blushed for them. They directly detained 2 prisoners and sent the documents back to the church headquarters, which euphemistically expressed the prisoners' wolfish ambitions. After the headquarters went through the process, the 2 suspects were taken back to the headquarters for trial. Sci-fi received 4 appointment letters and signed new priests. The former Saint Flora occupied one position. Flora's arrival stabilized the overall situation for Sci-fi. Whether Flora herself was willing or not, in the eyes of outsiders, she and Sci-fi were in the same boat. At the same time, Flora's identity as the former saint was also very important, representing the headquarters' support for Sci-fi. In exchange, Sci-fi handed a blank appointment letter to Flora, allowing the latter to choose a confidant as a priest. Sci-fi retained the remaining 2 positions. At this point, the Windsor branch of the Church of Nature completed the reshuffle, and the original 4 priests all stepped down and were replaced by Sci-fi and Flora's people. In terms of strength, Sci-fi is a general among the dwarfs. The 2 new priests she selected are good at management, but their strength is far inferior to Flora. With just a little effort from Flora, the 2 priests who had been sitting in the office for a long time would be like Priest Simon before him, who had to resign because of his poor performance on the front line. And Flora is really smart. She arrived in London one day in advance and located the coordinates of the Death Knight. She only needs to activate magic to explore the Death Knight's hiding place. She can oust the 2 priests at any time. The reason why he hasn't taken action yet is to wait for the opportunity, an opportunity to drive Ziffy away in one fell swoop. Furthermore, as a Frank, she was not welcomed in London. A century-old friendship was not just talk, and her identity as a saint could not be concealed. To reverse this disadvantage, Flora needs to establish a character that is so powerful that everyone will subconsciously forget about a century-old friendship. The idol route will definitely not work. A pure idol cannot support the box office. Moreover, as a former saint, she is a first-line idol of the natural church. If the idol group wants to be fully recognized by the market, they must put aside their idol baggage, switch to a powerful group, and use their own strength to slap the little guys in the face and shut up. Closer to home, Xife and Flora are currently working closely together and jointly monopolize the upper-level power of the London headquarters, which can be called the honeymoon period. But at the grassroots level, both of them are currently at a loss as a large number of positions are vacant. No matter how unwilling they have to appoint Sydney's group. He made a promise to Wayne at noon and began to order the investigation of Joey Dobbin when he returned to the office. Due to the lengthy process, no definite information has been received yet. All he knew was that Joey had absconded in fear of crime and his home was empty. He is ready to attack Sydney. Ding bell bell. The phone rang, and Xifei's heart skipped a beat. The situation had just improved, so don't let it take a sudden turn for the worse. He prayed before picking up the phone. Hello, High Priest, I am Plank, the director of Hongi Ellen Lunatic Asylum. Dean Plank. Xifei was stunned for a moment, and then started to chat. She always wanted to visit this old man in the magic world in the lunatic asylum, but was too busy to make time. High Priest, I have brought you good news today. Please tell me. Sydney is crazy. He has always been in contact with the Lord of the Void. Hey. High Priest, I know you are happy, but it is difficult for us to continue the conversation when you keep laughing like this. No, Dean Plank was joking. I'm not happy at all. Sydney is a staunch believer. His contribution to the London headquarters is unparalleled. I was saddened to hear the sad news about him. It's too late, Xifei beat her chest, trying to calm herself down, but the corners of her damn mouth couldn't help but rise. Good news, great news. Sydney's forbearance, strength, and power are the biggest stumbling blocks for the High Priest to centralize power. Xifei has been worried about how to uproot the other party's power, and she even considers giving a good look to her asshole husband. Unexpectedly, before she took action, the other party went crazy. So crazy. Xifei was overjoyed and didn't know how to thank Gangplank. Dean Plank, how long will Sydney need treatment? Xifei held her breath. With the goddess on top, 10 years is the best, 5 years is fine, she doesn't choose. At least 30 years. That's great, well, I mean it's such a shame, after all, Sydney is so, he. On the other side of the phone, Plank said nothing, waiting for Ziffy to finish laughing. Xifei laughed for a while and burst into tears. She realized that she had lost her composure and her image was almost irreparable. She decided to save her life and said solemnly, Dean Plank, thank you for your timely notification and saving the Church of Nature from major losses. To be honest, I don't know how to thank you. She has to thank me. Gangplank smiled modestly and said casually, there is no need to thank you. If the High Priest insists on thanking you, it would be simple. I have taken a fancy to a believer of the Church of Nature. He is still just a magician's apprentice. He is stupid. He doesn't look very smart. I plan to accept him as a student. I hope the High Priest will let him go. It is his honor to be your student. Why should I make it happen? You just, wait a minute, what is the name of that magician apprentice? Wayne. High Priest. You old bastard, Do you know what you are talking about? He is my student. I tell you, as the high priest of the Church of Nature, it is impossible, it is impossible. Sci-fi yelled, knowing that she had been unlucky recently. How could there be any good news? No, the legendary mage is coming to steal her students. The camera turned and arrived at number 13, Manor Street, West District. On the sofa in the living room, Wayne was sitting upright, holding corn and wheat grains and playing with the white pigeons. In the study next door, he and Plank were having a heated exchange of opinions, and from time to time a few famous quotes that started with F came out. Wayne turned his head and looked around, then whispered, "Don't argue anymore. If you want to argue, go to the dance studio. Study." Sci-fi said with a straight face, "Dean Gangplank, I know you are a legendary mage. If Wayne can become your student, his future will be limitless. In that case, why doesn't the High Priestess want to let go? Because he has an unlimited future. I admit this, but the High Priestess must also admit that I can teach Wayne everything you can, but you may not be able to teach Wayne everything I can." Unlike the strong-willed SPHY, Plank was much calmer. "It's so funny, the old man is so bold. Do you have a daughter? What can the Dean teach? The faith of the Free Mage Alliance." SPHY said with disdain, "Don't tell me your theory. I only know that most legendary mages are disciples with firm faith. You don't even have persistence. How far can you go on the road of magic? Our persistence is to persist in freedom of belief." Haha. The two people's beliefs are poles apart, and they can't talk about the same thing at all. Even if Plank brought up the Life Alliance as an example, SPHY refuted it. The internal learning of the Life Alliance is intended to make progress together, and the disciples will study life magic on the original basis. Life magic is closely related to nature, the sun, and the moonlight. It is the guidance of the three goddesses. It is different from the non-faith theory of the Free Mage Alliance. The two cannot be confused. Plank knew that SPHY was adamant. He would be the same if he were in her place. Such an outstanding student would not be spared by anyone who came. He said, "Actually, Sydney's condition is not that bad. If I want, he can be discharged tomorrow. Moreover, only our Free Mage Alliance knows about his involvement with the Lord of the Void, and I am the only one who can testify at present." "Why, Dean Plank wants to blackmail me?" "Not really, it's just an exchange of interests between adults." "Well, that's all." Plank shrugged. "How can adult matters be called blackmail?" He would rather call it a compromise. Sydney is not worthy of being compared with Wayne. "Dean, please let him out." SPHY was unwilling to compromise. "Then there is no way, Madam High Priest. Do you know how popular Wayne is?" Plank stroked his white beard and laughed. "If I let the news out, not only the Heavenly Father Church, but also the allies of the Natural Church, the Sun and Moonlight Churches will steal people secretly. Wayne is still a young man, he can't grasp it, and can't withstand so many temptations." Siffi's eyelids twitched wildly. This was the situation she was most worried about, and she could get Wayne by digging into the corners of the Moonlight Church. "But as long as I keep it a secret, Wayne's talent is only known to you and me, Madam High Priest. Why don't you cooperate once?" Plank made a promise. "He is the director of the Red Leaf Forest Lunatic Asylum and has the right to operate many matters. Siffi had better give him a face." Siffi was of course unwilling, and said coldly, "With Wayne's talent, he can become the son of the Natural Church after a little training. To be honest, I am planning this matter. If you are really for his good, let go now and leave. There is such a good thing." Plank's eyes lit up, and he was even more reluctant to let go. It is true that the Free Mage Alliance has obtained a large amount of faith magic because they believe in everything, but in the final analysis, the major churches are not fools, and they have kept many profound faith magics. It can be that they don't show it, pretending that it doesn't exist, or they can leave a formula backdoor when exchanging. Planck knows this but has no way to deal with it. However, if Wayne can become the son of the Church of Nature, he can use his identity to access the top faith magic. If he is a little bolder, under his operation, Wayne will become the son of several churches, and the chosen continent will usher in an unprecedented free mage. Goodoo. Planck imagined the future and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Madam High Priestess, you are right. For Wayne's good and for his future, I should let go. Take him away. I swear to God that I will never harass him again. Sphy. Speak clearly, which God is it? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 83. The conversation in the study ended with Sphy's great victory. Planck swore that he would never appear in front of Wayne again. The reason was that he was a respected senior in the circle. He admired Wayne's talent and talent. There was a kind of love called letting go, so he was willing to leave. Sphy didn't believe it. The old man was very bad and he couldn't believe a word of his words. Planck left and gave Wayne a big hug before leaving. His winks made Sphy even more angry. Even so, Sphy had no way to deal with it. Not to mention that Planck was the director of the Red Leaf Forest Lunatic Asylum, which was equivalent to the warden of the Mage Prison and the Chief Justice. She was helpless just to talk about the powerful strength of the other legendary mage. Planck had too many advantages. He just gave him some benefits and the young Wayne followed. When Sphy thought that the lovely student would not be able to resist the temptation and degenerate in the future, her chest couldn't help but hurt, and she was so heartbroken that she couldn't breathe. In the living room, Sphy covered her chest and groaned. After Wayne fed the carrier bird, he got up and went to the basement to practice. Last night, the two strong men fought to the end of the void, and the space was wiped out. When the gods fight, mortals suffer. I don't know how many fellow villagers are displaced. When I think of the fellow villagers who are displaced and have no place to live, living a miserable life worse than dogs, Wayne's kind heart aches. Don't be afraid, fellow villagers, I will let you live a dog's life. Before he took 2 steps, Wayne was grabbed by the collar and pressed back to the sofa. 11 Faye looked at Wayne dimly. What's the matter? Why does the Lord of the Void keep chasing you? Teacher, this kind of thing should be asked to the Lord of the Void. How can I know what a madman is thinking? Wayne was very aggrieved. That's right. 11 Faye knew this truth, but Wayne was aggrieved, and she was still aggrieved. The precious student she had finally snatched was targeted by the legendary magician before she could even warm up. She wanted to go back to the past and give her jerk husband a good punch. If you hadn't scared the child out of London, he wouldn't have met the geocentric church and the Lord of the Void, and wouldn't have attracted the crazy dean. It's all your fault. I shouldn't have married you. Then again, if it wasn't for the accidental assist from her jerk husband, she wouldn't have met Wayne at the train station, and she wouldn't have accepted the student out of curiosity. Without a series of accidents, Wayne would eventually join the Moonlight Church. Sci-fi sighed. Gold shines wherever it is. Even if she tried her best to hide it, she still attracted the big fly Planck. Wayne, what do you think of the Free Mage Alliance? I don't have any opinion. Loyalty is not absolute, and it is absolutely disloyal. They think they have taken advantage of the gods, and sooner or later they will be punished by the gods, and it won't last long. Wayne told the truth. There is a saying in the workplace, don't treat people as people when you are above them, don't treat yourself as a person when you are below them. The principle of success is so simple and can be applied to any office. This principle is even more applicable to gods and believers. The Free Mage Alliance is strong because of its freedom of belief, but they don't think about it. There must be a reason why gods turn a blind eye to them without any benefits. The Free Mage Alliance treats gods as tools, and Wayne thinks they are tools. They are lucky and will cause trouble sooner or later. But the Free Mage Alliance did point Wayne to a clear path. At the end of the road is a door, and behind the door is a new world. Wayne, I don't have a lucky mentality. I am different from them. I cheat. Goddess, it's great that you think so. Sci-fi was overjoyed and raised her hand to give Wayne a hug. Wayne dodged sideways and succeeded, but was pulled back by the collar. Wayne. Teacher, I know you are panicking, but don't panic. Planck is right. Your students are destined to become the public property of the goddesses. Sif touched Wayne's head, and the more he looked at him, the more he felt that Planck was extremely hateful. He gritted his teeth and said, "It was indeed my fault that the magic circle did not protect you well, otherwise the old guy in the lunatic asylum would not have taken advantage of it. Don't worry, I will change you to a better house in 2 days. It's already very good here." Wayne moved to the side, and the fellow villagers couldn't live without him. "No, I thought a lot before, but I didn't think that the Golden Mage would come to catch you personally. I won't do it next time." Sif thought of Sydney's ancestral home, a magic fortress that had been run for many years. In principle, Sydney's ancestral home is private property, and private property is sacred and inviolable. It does not belong to the Church of Nature, and even if she is the high priest, she has no right to dispose of it. But there is another saying that is good: rules are dead, and people can also be dead. Sydney was thrown into the Red Leaf Forest lunatic asylum. From studying others to being studied by others, it took 30 or 50 years to get out. Such a good ancestral house, it has been vacant for a long time, which is a waste of land resources. There will definitely be black-hearted officials who find all kinds of excuses, such as tax evasion, to put it in their name. Since the result is that it is all put in their name, why can't it be put in her student's name? It reduces the cases of corruption and preserves the official reputation. This cabinet will have to thank her if they know about it. 11 Faye successfully convinced herself, and immediately lost her guilt. She patted Wayne on the shoulder and smiled and wanted to give him a property certificate. Wayne did not refuse, not because 11 Faye gave too much, but because of the mansion. He is not a person who is greedy for money. He thinks that there is no need to be so polite between teachers and students. And because of Planck, teachers now feel very insecure. If they feel insecure, they will suffer from insomnia. Insomnia will affect their work, and eventually they will be laid off and go home to be full-time wives. For the sake of his career as a teacher, and also for the sake of being able to compete with the saint in the fish and meat village in the future, Wayne gritted his teeth and decided to go with it. Real estate certificate, right? Bring it over quickly and let me sign. Teacher, is that room big? It's not bad, it's a little more spacious than the one you live in now. That's 100 million points more spacious. Wayne raised his eyebrows. For such a big house, you need to hire a housekeeper. Since you have already hired a housekeeper, you must find the best one. For the first time, Wayne felt that the distance between him and the butler was so close. From now on, it was no longer young Master Wayne, but Master Wayne. But there is another troublesome thing. Fola is the steward of the Landau family. He is very loyal to the Landau family and cannot be poached even if he has money. Ignoring loyalty, Mr. Landau opened a bank and was so poor that he only had money left. No matter how rich he was, he couldn't compare to others. Wayne, here's $2,000. Sell me Frez employment contract. Landau, this is 20 million, get out. Wayne, okay, Dad. It's so shabby, even in fantasy I can't refuse him. Thinking of this, Veronica's figure appeared in front of Wayne's eyes, saying that he had to find a breakthrough from the magical girl. What are you mumbling over there? Who are you rejecting? Sci-fi raised her eyebrows. Teacher, I'm thinking about the house. Do you remember Butler Fula from in Lordtown? I want him so much, but he is the steward of the Landau family, so I can only think about it, Wei En said regretfully. Fula. Zai smiled mysteriously. If you have this idea, I can help you. Teacher also knows people from the Landau family. I know a few, not many. Zai patted Wayne on the shoulder and warned, I will help you handle this matter. Study hard and don't think about messy things. The lunatic asylum is not a clean place. Maybe the old guy is a lunatic. Teacher, don't worry, I have forgotten who Schrödinger is. Schrödinger. It's the director of the lunatic asylum who just left. Teacher, have you forgotten too? Zai was silent for a moment and said with a straight face, yes, that's the name. Don't mention it again in the future. He drove away, giving Wayne good news before leaving. Sydney is closely involved with the Lord of the Void, and his faction is destined to be cleaned up. Not just cleaning up, but also repeated investigations, and no fish that slips through the net will be let go. When things come to an end, there will be peace in London, and Wayne can move around freely without having to worry about his status as a high priest student causing him trouble. By the way, I will accompany the teacher to the family dinner and get to know the teacher's family members. Wayne immediately told Veronica the good news. While making a call, I suddenly found that the phone line in the big house was cut. Damn it, he is indeed a golden mage. He is very steady in everything he does. He is much more professional than the four guys before. Wayne came to the street, found a phone booth, and told Veronica the good news immediately. He was used to being cautious, so he didn't say who the teacher was. He only said that the teacher's troubles were solved, that he would be released from prison, and that he would be free soon. How much have you written in the diary? Veronica said straight to the point. Well, this is all you care about. Why can't you care about me? Why do you care? I can keep a diary. It makes sense, and Veronica can't fault it. In order to celebrate Wayne's release from prison and the opportunity to start a new life, she plans to hold a small party with seniors Chris and Willie, and the time is scheduled to be within a week. Back. Wayne calculated the time and found that the teacher acted vigorously and resolutely. 1 week would be enough to clear away the remnants of the previous dynasty, so he readily agreed. Wayne, remember to bring your diary and write more these days. Do you really like watching documentaries that much? It's just so-so. The main reason is that Chris' detective writing is too ugly, and she always lets me read it. Senior sister also likes to write. It's interesting. I must read it someday. Wayne became interested and continued, by the way, I would like to ask, was the sponsor of the party that night, dear Miss Veronica? Otherwise, you have to pay. No, I just want to confirm. Wayne smiled coquettishly and did not dare to refute Veronica's arrogant tone. From the few words of the housekeeper Fura, he had a general understanding of the Landau family. It is impossible to refute. Veronica's father is very particular about taking things from the people and using them for the people when doing business. He is currently the top brother in the police department. When talking about money, there is nothing Wayne can do to fight her. After hanging up the phone, Wayne sighed and touched the 2,000 constitutions in his pocket, planning to buy a good outfit in the near future. He couldn't lose the teacher's face. Speaking of which, Veronica gave me these 2,000 constitutional decrees. Wayne reviewed his life in the past 6 months. In the first 3 months, he ate potatoes. In the next 3 months, he was either being taken care of by Veronica or eating and drinking at the teacher's house. His financial income was basically zero. He was just a freeloader. Pretty boy. It smells so good. In the basement, Wayne lay on his back, trying to maximize his contact with the four elements wandering around him. 2 legendary mages collided, and after the war, a large number of the 4 elements were left homeless. This time he was truly homeless. The Lord of the Void died. Without him, his home was gone. The four elements wandered aimlessly in the sewers and were gathered together by the magic circle in the basement of the villa. Wayne opened his heart and provided a new home. Again, with such a great lack of virtue, Wayne had to kowtow 3 times at the grave of the Lord of the Void. The latter risked his life not to push Wayne forward step by step, and even asked his apprentice to give up his home for Wayne to live in after his death. Goddesses passing by, coming from the south and the north, please stop for a moment. Wayne, your loyal believer, has something to say. Please bless the Lord of the Void to have an afterlife and meet me again in the next life. Wayne prayed devoutly, and the essence of life was filled with a steady stream of the 4 elements. He dreamed of returning to the big house in Enrod Town and couldn't help but talk about the goodness of the Lord of the Void. There were too many 4 elements gathered in the basement, so many that Wayne didn't need to use tentacles. As long as he lay still, the fire element would lead the way to come and join him. The general situation can be seen as the fire element rushing forward, crowding and pushing people, and engulfing the other 3 elements into Wayne's body. 5 days later, Wayne's life essence was filled. At the moment of filling, the light and shadow of the 6-pointed star flashed by, and Wayne couldn't help but shudder. He couldn't describe the pleasure, which was extraordinary and could not be expressed in words. It was like the sublimation of thinking, making him feel that his spirit and body were more closely connected, and he established a certain connection with the world. He felt the world with his mind, and his vision was clearer than before. I gradually understood everything. Wayne looked down at the big eyeball on his chest and punched it shut. Who said I let you see it? What does it have to do with you? Wayne's life essence was filled, but the blooming of the 6-pointed star was only for a moment, and the 3 elements of earth, water, and wind still failed to light up. Instead, the fire element that had already lit up was once again a billion points away from them. He remembered that the teacher said that he should first fill up the essence of life, then light up the 6 light spots, and then connect them to form a hexagram after everything is balanced. Too many fire elements, it's difficult. Wayne is facing a problem. He is too fond of fire elements, and earth, fire, water, and wind can never achieve balance in his body. He may be able to release fire element magic and achieve a perfect balance of the 4 elements by constantly weakening the fire element reserve, but he is a squirrel patient and can't bear to waste. In addition, the book says that weakening the element reserve is equivalent to weakening the power of the hexagram. Only when the magic apprentice forces out all his potential can he start the next step of balance. When the 6 elements of earth, fire, water, wind, space, and me are perfectly balanced, everything will come naturally. The magic apprentice does not need to pursue it deliberately, and the hexagram will naturally be connected in series. So, my problem is not that there are too many fire elements, but that there are too few other elements. Wayne frowned. The question is, when will the goddesses give him the second Lord of the Void? He glanced at the Book of Greed, which had a lot of inventory, and it was the one who was greedy the most when the spoils were divided. The Book of Greed moved its big eyes away, not wanting to look at Wayne. If it hadn't had a mouth, it would have whistled. This road was not feasible, Wayne could only think of another way. It was unrealistic to rely on the goddess. In the end, one had to rely on oneself. Wayne thought of Gangplank. The old man was greedy for his body. As long as he nodded, the other party should not mind spending more. Anyway, it wouldn't cost much, and the big head of the Lord of the Void had already been paid. It's decided to be you. Free Mage Alliance. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 84. The family dinner is on July 25th, which is tomorrow night. What's wrong, do you have a date? Hive put down the suit and leather shoes she had made for Wayne and said bluntly, you are still young. Young people should focus on their studies and not always think about dating girls. Listen to your sister and turn down this date. I will introduce my daughter to you another day. But I have already agreed. It's decided happily. Hive stuffed the clothes into Wayne's hand, pushed him into the bedroom, closed the door and said, "Try on whether the clothes fit. If not, I will take them back and make some changes. This is too coincidental." Wayne held the clothes and changed them helplessly. He had an appointment to attend Veronica's small party on the evening of the 25th, which happened to overlap with the date of Hef's family dinner. After changing into a set of clothes, Wayne stood in front of the floor-length mirror and looked sideways. The fabric was of high quality, the craftsmanship was exquisite, and the size fit was perfect. He was very sure that he had never come into contact with the tailor in the clothing store. He could only say that Hef's eyes had a tape measure, and he was worthy of being a first-class fashion designer in Paris. Speaking of fashion design, Wayne thought of stockings and asked curiously, "Teacher, 3 months ago you said you would arrange someone to study stockings. Have you produced samples?" "I'm already urging them. We're trying on models. The finished product will take some time. I suggest you hurry up. It's almost August. Summer is the best-selling season for stockings." I know. Have you changed? You're dragging your feet like a woman. Do you want me to put on makeup for you?" Sci-fi was complaining. When she saw Wayne push the door and walk out, she was stunned. As a female fashion designer, Sci-fi has only made clothes for two men, one is a jerk husband and the other is a student. She didn't think much of the clothes when she just looked at them. When the clothes were worn on Wayne, she felt that the two men were very similar, not only in hair color and appearance, but also in their inner temperament. The kind of stubborn temperament that seems obedient on the surface, but is actually full of rebelliousness. Sci-fi frowned. "Goddess, please bless me. It must be an illusion. She chose a jerk when she chose her husband. Don't choose another jerk when you choose your apprentice. What's wrong? Is there anything wrong?" Seeing the teacher's unfriendly eyes, Wayne subconsciously raised his sleeves to take a look. The suit is made of the person who wears it. When he wears it, the grade immediately goes up. No problem, it looks good and can be worn. Nothing, I just thought of something unhappy. Sci-fi waved her hand and told Wayne not to go anywhere on the afternoon of the 25th, and she would pick him up then. After that, she went out in a hurry and went back to the office to work. Wayne shrugged, changed his suit and hung it in the cupboard, changed into casual clothes and plunged into the basement, called Aubin and Yulia, and strolled along the sewer. The target is the detective agency, and along the way, he will help the displaced fellow villagers. Everything can be cut off, but the roll cannot be stopped. If there is no roll, there will be no future. Wayne rode his horse and stopped and walked. It was dark when he arrived at the detective agency. He checked and smelled a trace of the remaining scent of the magic girl in the air. He guessed that Veronica had been here today. As expected, there was a note from the other party on the desk. "Why haven't you taken the diary away yet? Call me back quickly." The detective agency has never installed a phone, and Wayne always takes the initiative to contact the other party. Veronica can't even find Wayne's phone number when she wants to find him. What makes Veronica most angry is that everyone is so familiar with each other, but they have never exchanged each other's mailbird address books. Wayne is very helpless. He thought, but he is too busy during this period, and the telephone line of the temporary address has been cut off, and the maintenance worker has not come yet. This is what London is like. He makes a lot of promises to trick customers in first, and when the money is in the account, he is short of manpower, resulting in a very poor customer experience. Wayne put the diary in his pocket, went to the street and dialed the phone, and soon got in touch with Veronica. He may have to stand up everyone for the date on the 25th. The protagonist is absent, and I hope the organizer will not be angry. "Hey, isn't this Boss Wayne? Are you so busy lately?" "For life, It's better to be busy. Wayne smiled shamelessly. It was too rude to break the appointment, especially to the three beautiful girls. He was thinking about how to pass the blame without hurting their feelings. Unexpectedly, before he opened his mouth, Veronica hesitated. There is an emergency at my place for the party tomorrow night, so we may have to change it to another day. What do you mean, are your relatives coming? I guess so. I'm not saying anything to you, we set the date a week in advance, how can you break the appointment just like that? You're still a girl, don't you know how to calculate the date? I thought we were friends, and I trusted you so much, but you treat your friends like this. When he heard Veronica's broken promise, Wayne's tone immediately became fierce. As everyone knows, he hates people who don't keep their promises the most. On the other side of the phone, Veronica apologized quietly. She had explained to Willie and Chris that she had not been able to contact Wayne, so she went to the detective agency specifically. What's the point of saying this now? Do you know how much I'm looking forward to the party tomorrow night? Veronica, you've disappointed me so much, Wayne shouted. Also, you want to apologize in such a low voice, you don't have any sincerity at all. This is ridiculous, don't be so arrogant. Veronica was furious, took a deep breath, thought about it, it was indeed her fault first, and apologized again in a low voice. I'm sorry. Louder. Sorry. Why are you shouting so loudly? When Wayne finished speaking, the person on the other end had already hung up the phone. He snorted and walked out of the phone booth, walking steadily like a victorious general. July 25th. Family dinner. Wayne spent a whole day furiously filling in the diary. In the diary, he was described as generous, kind, upright, brave, neither greedy for money nor lewd. He also added a story about how he kept up with current events and kept his appointments despite facing hundreds of evil gods. Documentary works focus on the truth. The author hopes that by practicing the great righteousness and leading by example, the truth, kindness, and beauty can awaken the lost conscience in readers and make them deeply aware of their mistakes. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a high-end black car parked in front of number 13 Manor Street. Wayne was dressed in a suit and refused the driver's courtesy of opening the door. He opened the car door himself and got into the back seat. Sci-fi attended the event dressed up, wearing a self-designed brand evening dress, a black long skirt, slightly exposed shoulders, showing unparalleled elegance and nobility. The neckline of the dress is uniquely designed, with a deep V-neck but not too deep, showing off the delicate collarbone and slender neck. She wore a pair of earrings inlaid with green diamonds, and the pendant on her chest was also made of green gemstones. She was low-key, calm, luxurious and friendly. For other aspects, such as body curves, Wayne simply ignored them out of respect for the teacher. How about this outfit, sister? What does it have to do with clothes? What you want to ask is whether you look beautiful today, right? Wayne complained in his heart, put on a pleasing face, nodded and praised, Goddess above, besides the goddess of nature, the teacher is the most beautiful. Sci-fi was greatly impressed, but she still pointed out Wayne's mistake. In addition to the goddess of nature, the two goddesses of the sun and moonlight are also noble and elegant. She ranks fourth at most. Wayne. Okay, they are all old ladies anyway. Teacher, you are the youngest, so just be happy. The ancestral manor of the Landau family is located at the junction of the West District and the Central District of Nalundam. In the early years, before the expansion of Lundam city, the location of the manor was very remote. With the advent of the industrial age, Lundam city became bigger and bigger. The remote ancestral land has become a luxurious area close to the financial center. Rightward arrow. This mansion is located behind a wide forest and there is an open lawn behind the woods. It is far away from the hustle and bustle of the city and feels like entering another world. The mansion is composed of a main building and two side wings. There is also the eldest lady's private villa in the back garden a little further away. Viewed from a high altitude, each building has its own unique architectural style and beauty. The interior of the manor building is worthless and there is nothing much to say. Sitting in the car, Wayne could not see the small nature reserve in the back garden. He only knew that the forest path in front of the main building was very long and the path around the lawn was very long. The fountain is huge. It's more like a resort hotel than a manor. These are not the important points. The important point is that when he entered the door, Wayne saw the family crest on both sides of the door. The tulip logo is particularly eye-catching and is exactly the same as the emblem of the Landau family in Lordtown. Wayne. Big shot, Mr. Landau, he, Veronica, family crest. After a little analysis and rational thinking, Wayne figured it all out. No wonder after meeting Veronica, a mysterious big man suddenly appeared and wanted to stuff Veronica into a cement bucket to fill the river. No wonder Mr. Landau, the big capitalist who opened the bank, couldn't deal with the big shot. No wonder Mr. Landau could not deal with the big shot, but his teacher easily dealt with him. No wonder. Wayne was suddenly enlightened, and the question that had been bothering him for a long time was answered. He looked at Sci-fi with a look of resentment. Teacher, I just saw the family emblem of the Landau family. It's really good. It's exactly the same as the one in Lordtown. There is such a thing, didn't I tell you? Sci-fi was very surprised. The students didn't ask. Well, that's good if you know. Sci-fi was greatly impressed, patted Wayne on the shoulder, and joked, my sister wanted to introduce her daughter to you before, but you always refused. Do you regret it now? E =. Wayne sighed speechlessly. It turned out that he was not being taken care of by the teacher and the eldest lady respectively, but had always been taken care of by the Landau family. It's great to meet such a teacher who likes to amuse students. In this way, Veronica's sudden breakup of the appointment can be explained. Teacher, does Veronica know? She didn't ask either. That's great. I'm not the only one being fooled. Wayne complained loudly and turned to look out the window. It was outrageous. It had been a while since the car drove through the gate, but it hadn't arrived yet. This is the city center. Has Mr. Landau considered building a subway in the yard? Build it quickly, otherwise the doorman and the maid will break up again because of their long-distance relationship. The high-end black car stopped, and the servant stepped forward and opened the door. After Wayne got out of the car, he extended his hand so that he could use his strength. This was a bonus tip taught by the butler Fura. When in front of a lady, you should not only maintain your own etiquette, but also maintain the elegance of the other party. When the lady is elegant, he himself becomes elegant. Lady. On both sides of the main entrance, servants stood in 2 rows. The housekeeper Megan stepped forward, put one hand on her chest and bowed slightly. Wayne didn't feel anything, maybe because the road just now was too long. The scene in front of him was completely within his expectations. Unless the Queen was wearing a maid's outfit and sweeping the floor at the gate, he would never be scared again. Megan, this is my student Wayne. Shife looked at Wayne beside her and said to Megan, call him Master Wayne from now on. Megan nodded, bowed slightly to Wayne, and called him Master Wayne. Wayne bowed his head in return, and at the same time suddenly realized that it was no wonder that he was a stranger staying overnight, but FLA had always called him Master. So that's the case. He looked at Megan curiously, and the latter turned around and led the way with a calm face. She was dressed in a lady's suit and looked decent and serious. Is this the woman who defeated FLA? She is pretty. Megan is more than beautiful. She has a stunning appearance, an elegant figure, and a calm temperament. As a housekeeper, there is nothing wrong with her appearance. Ordinary stuff? Wayne was not convinced. A housekeeper cannot be judged by appearance alone. The key lies in professionalism. He still believes that FLA is the best housekeeper. Megan must have used the promotion device to get promoted. Thinking of this, Wayne looked at Sci-fi indignantly. Teacher, this woman has an affair with your husband. This time, he immediately found something strange. Too similar. Wayne compared the teacher and the housekeeper. The two figures overlapped. Megan's short golden hair and rigorous and meticulous temperament were almost a replica of Sci-fi from beginning to end. Too similar, it can't be said to be plagiarism, it's exactly the same. So, the teacher's husband didn't cheat, and every time he cheated, he was thinking about the teacher? I can't see that he is still a loyal lover. Entering the gate of the villa, what comes into view is the spacious and bright hall, the tall ceiling, the gorgeous chandelier and the exquisite murals, and a staircase with a red carpet leading directly to the second floor. When luxury and elegance are perfectly integrated and complement each other to the limit, money is no longer important, the key is the artistic element. The Landau family's ancestral home has a high artistic element, as high as a skyscraper. After a while, Megan pushed open the white door in front of her. The magnificent restaurant was very sophisticated, and any decoration had an extraordinary origin. Wayne didn't understand, and didn't look at it much. He looked at the man on the main seat. He was wearing a black suit similar to him, with handsome features and a very young appearance. He was playing with an ancient silver coin in his hand. Austin Landau. Austin stood up and walked towards the hostess of the house with a smile. He only had eyes for Healy, and didn't even look at Wayne. Wayne was automatically put into the blind spot of vision, and there was no place for him in his peripheral vision. Austin raised his hand and wanted to lead the hostess to take a seat, but the effect was very average. Healy snorted and walked directly around her husband. Humph. Austin slowly withdrew his hand, his smile faded, and he stared at his wife's back, snorting with a stern face. Ha! Hi-Fi heard it and was not to be outdone. Humph. Ha! Wayne, you two are just standing there humming and hawing. This bowl of expired dog food is so salty. Wayne was not surprised that he didn't get Austin's attention. As long as he put himself in the victim's perspective, everything would be taken for granted. Bad news, the little white face pushed the little white cabbage. Good news, the little white face got rich. Bad news, the little white face got rich halfway and hooked up with the old white cabbage. Good news, the old white cabbage went home. Bad news, the little white face also went home. Wayne nodded repeatedly. Yes, he deserved it. If someone treated him like this, Aubin, Yulia, and Abio would have been in charge of him long ago. Under the guidance of the butler, Wayne took his seat and looked up. Opposite him was Veronica, who was dressed up in an evening gown. Veronica. Wayne, W., Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 85. No one was talking in the restaurant, only the sound of the knife and fork touching the plate. Veronica's voice was very loud. She pierced the steak with a fork in her backhand, cut back and forth with a serrated knife, and stared at Wayne with a pair of eyes, without saying a word, as if the beef on the plate was him. Wayne, what a coincidence, you come to eat too. Veronica, this is my house. Wayne, the food is so good, Dad. Veronica, you bastard, wait for me. Suddenly, she learned that her mother had accepted a student outside and was going to bring him back for the family dinner. Veronica was a little confused. Why did she suddenly have a student and seem to take it very seriously? Veronica felt sour in her heart, feeling that part of her mother's love was divided, and asked Mr. Landau if he knew about it. Mr. Landau had a dark face and evaluated the student, social trash. To get such an evaluation from Mr. Landau, he must not be an ordinary person. Veronica suddenly became curious. Then she saw this social trash. I have to say that the evaluation is very pertinent. Veronica squinted her eyes and looked at Wayne. She felt stupid. She was kept in the dark from beginning to end. She was just a fool. She thought she had been fooled once and learned a lesson. She would never be deceived by social garbage again. She never expected that social garbage had many tricks and deceived her again. At this time, Veronica completely forgot that Sci-fi had also kept it from her for a long time. She believed that Wayne was the mastermind. During the meal, she kept giving him eye pressure and tried to chop Wayne into mashed potatoes with her eyes. Wayne also squinted his eyes. The necklace was nice and white, but your reason should not be so big. Did you stuff it with a cushion? The two met each other's eyes. After all, Wayne's eyes dodged and gradually fell into a disadvantage. He only dared to look straight through his eyes and didn't dare to stare at him. Humph. Austin couldn't stand it anymore. The pretty boy dared to flirt with Bikay in his house. Did he really think he didn't dare to let the housekeeper bring in the cement bucket? Also, just eat, where are you looking? Ha! When students are snorted, teachers naturally have to stand up to support the scene. Sci-fi put down the knife and fork in her hand and said to Wayne with a smile, "Why are you sitting so far away, Megan? Move the young master's seat next to me." "Okay, ma'am." "Megan, move the young lady's seat next to me." "Okay, master." "I don't want it." A family dinner started plainly and ended with Austin's defeat. After the meal, Austin pulled Sci-fi away with a dark face. The latter was reluctant, but still followed him. Veronica hooked her finger at Wayne expressionlessly, turned around and walked out of the restaurant. Wayne looked around and thought she was not talking to him, so he stayed there and didn't go anywhere. After a while, Veronica returned and dragged him out with a cold face. The housekeeper Megan followed closely behind. The master had ordered that the social garbage must be kept under close watch no matter what, and the other party must not be allowed to taste the sweetness. As for the master, whether he would be beaten if he faced the dragon blood high priest alone, the master advised the housekeeper not to meddle in other people's business. "How many times have I said that this is not called being beaten, this is the interest between husband and wife? Megan, you are not allowed to follow," Veronica ordered, and directly closed the door of the study, and locked it from the inside. She lifted her skirt, called Wayne to jump out of the window, and went straight to her single-family villa. Behind, Megan followed like a shadow, and did not stop until she stood at the door of the eldest lady's single-family villa. Veronica did not like others to enter her room, even the head of the family, Austin, had to apply in advance, and most of the applications were returned to the recycling yard. Veronica had not called Austin her father for a long time, and usually used Mr. Landau as a pseudonym. If she wanted her to change her words, unless her mother came home, the two of them would be in harmony and never quarrel again. Bang! As soon as she entered the room, Veronica grabbed Wayne by the collar and pressed him against the wall. The Dragon Blood girl had amazing arm strength, and Wayne was surprised to find that he, who was filled with the essence of life, had little energy to resist. "So powerful. It's really powerful, you are very proud, right?" Veronica recalled her experience during this period, and was quite angry. "You knew it but didn't say anything, and asked me to apologize loudly. You obviously made fun of me on purpose." "I'm sorry." Wayne was shameless and apologized loudly. Veronica rolled her eyes and gritted her teeth and said, "Your voice is so small, there is no sincerity at all." "Sorry. Sorry. Why are you yelling so loudly?" Veronica was satisfied and found that her face was too close to Wayne. She let go and took 2 steps back, found a coat to put on, covering the gorgeous evening dress. If she had said that her mother's student was Wayne, she would not have dressed so beautifully. "Tell me, how did you get to know my mother? Is she up to no good?" "No way, last time you said my teacher was up to no good, how come this time I'm the one with bad intentions?" Wayne was very aggrieved. They were friends and now they were even closer, but Veronica didn't believe in his character. "Did you bring the diary?" "No, but I've written it until today, I guarantee you'll be satisfied." "That's more like it." Veronica muttered in a low voice, still very angry, and asked, "How did you get to know my mother? When did you become her student? Did you show her the diary?" "How is it possible?" "The teacher came up to me on her own initiative, coercing and tempting me to be her student, and said she would introduce her daughter to." "Huh?" Veronica raised her eyebrows. This was not the answer she wanted. "Okay, I'll tell you the truth. I was the shameless one who begged her to accept me as a student." "That's more like it." Veronica pointed at the sofa opposite, and continued to interrogate Wayne after he sat down. "Don't make up stories. What exactly happened?" "I remember that you fled from London and were hunted by that big shot." "How did you become my mother's student?" "Is there a possibility that the big shot is your father?" "Huh?" Veronica was stunned for a moment, and after she came to her senses, she realized that there was indeed such a possibility. No wonder Mr. Landau has never succeeded. Every time he asked, it was almost done. He was unwilling to settle himself, but this was the result. "When did you offend Mr. Landau?" "That started more than 3 months ago. I was eating a potato dinner at home, and a magic girl in a black robe broke into the detective agency." Wayne sighed. Veronica understood and stood up from the sofa angrily. "It's absurd. What is he thinking about? Does he really think I will like a social scum? It's hard to say. I've seen a lot of young men in the upper class, so it's inevitable that I want to change to a heavier taste," Wayne complained. "Shut up, I don't allow you to say that about my mother's students." Veronica sat back on the sofa. "Continue, how did you and my mother know each other?" "The night I left London, the teacher and I were on the same train." Wayne shrugged. "Remember you sent me to the train station? Although I don't want to hit you, the teacher thought I was your boyfriend, and then we got to know each other." "It's absurd. Are they all blind?" Veronica was furious, angry, and furious. "It is said that parents understand their children best. Why don't her parents understand her at all?" Bar Book 69 New. She glared at Wayne, who slumped on the sofa, posing like a useless man who eats gigolos. "I'm so angry." Veronica scratched her hair and saw that Wayne was asking for a beating, so she took off her coat and smashed it hard on his face. "Damn it, why are you breathing so loudly? Give me back my clothes." Bang. In the big house on the other side, just as Austin closed the door, Sci-fi grabbed his collar and hung him on the wall. Lady Dragonblood's arm strength was amazing, and Austin was used to it and didn't think about resisting at all. He knew very well that he must not resist at this time. The more he resisted, the more excited the other party would be, and then he would lie on the ground. "Healy, calm down." "What do you mean by calm down? Are you very proud?" Healy said coldly, "What was your expression when we were having dinner just now? Did the bank go bankrupt? Do you know that this makes me lose face in front of my students?" "I'm sorry." "What's the use of apologizing now? I really don't understand why you always want to oppose me." "I won't talk about the past." "What's wrong with Wayne?" Healy was indignant. "You don't know how popular he is. He is good, but..." Austin looked a little unhappy. "Do you have a feeling that he is a bit similar to me?" "Don't flatter yourself." "What's so good about you?" Healy laughed. "My wife is perfect and my daughter is excellent." "This is the truth." Healy was stunned and realized that he was too close to the jerk, and the shameless guy was still sticking his face here. He threw him on the bed with an over-the-shoulder throw. "Hey! Why is there a bed?" Sci-fi was furious. "Why did you bring me to the bedroom? If you don't want to, can I drag you here?" Austin secretly complained, put on a smile on his face, and pointed to the opposite wall. "I don't know, maybe it's been a long time since I saw this photo with you, and I can't help but miss the past. There is a huge wedding photo hanging on the wall, with a suit and a wedding dress nestled together. There are also several small photo frames recording beautiful moments on the long table below, including photos of the two, a mother holding her daughter, and a family of 3. The lethality was off the charts, and Sci-fi's domineering aura immediately dropped by more than half. Austin took advantage of the victory and approached the lady and said slowly, "You haven't been home for a long time. Last time you only came once and only had dinner with Veronica. You don't know how happy she was that night. Don't say these words, I know what you want to do. I will love Veronica more in the future. It's my fault, and I will make up for it myself." Sci-fi turned her head and looked to the side. It was too late to play the emotional card now. Of course, but if I were there, Veronica would be happier. Austin held his wife's hand, and the latter struggled a little, not much, feeling sorry for the dragon blood and strange power. "This is a sure thing." Austin raised his hand and held her shoulders. "I am very happy that you can come back, and so is Veronica. I swear that I will treat you well in the future. Don't leave. At least, go home for dinner every night so that Veronica can see you every day." Sci-fi's momentum completely dissipated. The picture described by Austin was what she thought in her heart. "But I am the high priest of the church now. Are you willing? I have figured it out. I shouldn't have constrained you all the time, and I shouldn't have bound you to this family." Austin expressed his feelings affectionately. "If my lover is a wild horse, I will build a grassland for her. If my lover is a bird longing for freedom, I will build a forest for her." "Really? Are you my husband?" Sci-fi looked at Austin in surprise. Seeing that the other party was shamelessly approaching, he raised his hand and slapped him away. "Yes, it's his husband." "Austin, do you really not care that I work overtime every night, and you won't nag about my beliefs?" "No, I have changed." Austin took out the pendant of the Natural Church from his arms. "Look, I sponsored the new base of the London Natural Church a few years ago. This is a token given by the former high priest. I'll believe you again." Sci-fi nodded. The pendant was genuine and the sponsorship was well documented. It's a pity that those bases with favorable geographical locations were wiped out by the Dark Knights. The church has not been reorganized due to lack of manpower. Seeing that her husband really had the intention to repent, 11 Faye decided to give him a good face, touch his little hand or something, and she would not care. Snap. "Don't lean on me, I only promised you that I would come back to accompany Veronica every day no matter how busy I am. I didn't say I have forgiven you." 11 Faye pushed the shameless man away. "It doesn't matter, as long as Veronica is happy. She has been waiting for this day for too long. I often see her standing by the window looking in the direction of Paris." "Don't say it, I will come back every day." 11 Faye sighed. Every time her husband mentioned Veronica, she couldn't help feeling guilty, so even though she knew that the other party was doing it on purpose, she could do nothing. She continued, "Also, now is different from before, you have to promise me one thing." "No problem, no matter how harsh the punishment is, I agree." "Don't give me that." 11 Faye looked disgusted. She used to think it was a punishment, but later she realized that it was a reward, and her husband was clearly enjoying it. "So, mistress of the Landau family, do you have any other instructions?" Austin knelt on one knee, took the lady's hand, and kissed the back of her hand gently. "Add another frame over there, and take a photo now." "Okay, I'll bring Veronica over now." Austin agreed happily. He was also thinking this. It was time to change a family photo. "And Wayne? Speak." I, it's not impossible." Austin smiled far-fetchedly, just wanting to ask if Wayne could be stuffed into the cement bucket first and then take the photo. He said, "I know you have a misunderstanding of Wayne. At the beginning, I also thought that he approached Veronica for beauty and money, and you drove him out of London to protect Veronica. Yes, your initial feeling was right, why change it? Later, I found out that he is not that kind of person. He is an excellent magician who will definitely change the Church of Nature in the future. Healy believed this without a doubt. Thinking of the abominable Dean Schrödinger, there is another possibility that Wayne will change more than just the Church of Nature. I understand. I'll call him over right now. Austin couldn't bear to hear this. When he heard Healy praising Wayne, he felt uncomfortable all over. He stood up, closed his eyes and contacted the housekeeper Megan, and the ancient silver coin flew up and down between his 5 fingers. Please ask the eldest lady to come over. Madam wants to take another photo. There is also a cement bucket. Where is he? Bring him over. He is in the eldest lady's room. Ding dang. The ancient silver coin fell to the ground. Austin, ye. Good, good, what an excellent magician. Let Plank give you a critical illness notice tomorrow morning. If you don't want to live at the bottom of the river, you can live in the lunatic asylum in the future. And Lily Hayworth, you haven't called back for so long. Do you want to stay in London anymore? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 86. The ancestral home of Landau House is brightly lit in front of the door. Under the arrangement of Qian's ability, the best cameraman team of London is adjusting the light. Behind the open door is a magnificent hall. 2 red velvet walnut high-back chairs are placed in front of the door. There are only 4 people in the camera. The host and hostess are seated, and the young master and young lady stand on both sides. Veronica stands beside Healy, and Wayne stands beside Austin. On one side are the smiling blonde mother and daughter, and on the other side are the serious black-haired old man and young master in black suits. Whether from the sensory vision or from the temperament from the inside out, the composition texture is clear. If you don't know, you would think this is a reconstituted family. After a few posed photos, the cameraman signaled that they could take a break. Austin smiled and looked at Healy, Healy looked up at his daughter and students, and Veronica turned her head and glared at Wayne. Why did you appear in the group photo of my family? Wayne looked forward expressionlessly, and he also wanted to know this question. Click. The cameraman captured the moment perfectly. He is an artist with aspirations. The previous posing was too deliberate. It was all because of the family's good looks and temperament. The action and styling seemed perfect, but it was superficial and too popular, no different from an ordinary family portrait. Without true feelings and highlights, it will be thrown into the trashcan of memory in a short time. The moment captured is different. Everyone's true feelings are revealed, without disguise in front of the camera. This is the art close to life. After that, the 2 high-backed chairs were removed, and there were several more groups of concave shapes. The cameraman has already got the most outstanding work tonight. The next few groups of styling are purely for the process. The photographer is not good at taking pictures, and the faces of the 4 people in the concave shape are a bit stiff. I hate taking pictures. X4. The family fun session ended, the photographer team left, and the photos will be printed a few more copies and sent to the Landau family. Healy wants a few photos to be placed in the office. Wayne and Veronica will put them in their own rooms, and although Austin is reluctant, in order to make his wife happy, he must add a small photo frame under the wedding photo. He had thought it through. He added a vase in front of the photo frame to block the annoying cement bucket. After the photo was taken, Austin smiled and looked at Healy. As expected, he was turned away. He himself did not care. Healy was in London and promised to go home every night. He repeated the process of dating, and with Veronica's protection, everything would fall into place. As the new young master of the Landau family, Wayne would come often in the future. It was impossible for him to stay in the guest room all the time. He naturally got his own room. Austin was very unhappy about the addition of such a light bulb under his nose. It seriously affected his relationship with his wife. He was thinking about building another remote villa in the manor and throwing him there so that he would not be bothered by it. This is the way rich people think. I don't want to see him, so I will buy him a house quickly. As soon as they said it, under the arrangement of housekeeper Megan, the construction company run by the Landau family came to the door overnight to measure, draw, and plan the budget. Wayne's room was located in the side building. He pushed open the window and looked far away. The view was wide, and he suddenly realized that the private territory of the Landau family was not shrouded in fog. Unfortunately, because the housekeeper Megan was instructed by a family head who did not want to reveal his name, Wayne arranged a room on the other side. Even with a very good view, he could not see the eldest lady's single-family villa. Be on guard, this is seeing through my heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. Wayne whispered, and the dark man did not speak out. He did not like this father-in-law very much. The first time he saw him, he knew that this guy was not a good person. Unlike the capitalists who deserved to be hung on the street lamp, Wayne was not referring to a good person, but to the greasy and sinister heart under Austin's elegant appearance. Just like the ancient silver coin that never left his hand, that is, the old yin coin, Wayne believed that Austin was two-faced, one in front of people and another behind people. He could deceive the teacher and give birth to a daughter. He must have fallen into an unspeakable routine. The teacher left in anger, 100% because he saw through the inner nature of the scumbag. He plays himself, gets a favor from me, and drives me out of London. I have to thank him. No, he has too many tricks. There is no place for me in this family. From servants to housekeepers, they are all minions of the enemy. It is too passive to fight away from home. I have to come less in the future. Wayne was muttering, and suddenly found a light in the bushes downstairs. A black shadow moved slowly, and two light spots flickered. With his supervision, he couldn't see what it was without the fog covering it. Wayne was very surprised until the black shadow moved under the garden street lamp, and then he could see it clearly. A black cat, staring with two round yellow eyes. Monica. Wayne was slightly stunned, turned over and jumped out of the window. This Monica is not that Monica. It is not the black cat transformed after the curse of senior sister Chris. It is a real black cat. According to Veronica, Monica is Mr. Landau's pet cat. Because she only caresses and does not clean up the poop, Monica is not close to her owner and prefers to be close to the housekeeper Megan. Wayne jumped down the window, came behind the black cat with a few quick steps, and took it in his hands and started to caress it hard at 14 times the speed when the cat was not prepared. Monica, lift it up. The black cat's eyes were wide open, and confusion was written in its big eyes. It was confused at first, then secretly happy, and then confused again. By the time it reacted and was ready to use crazy scratching, Wayne had already finished and left. Looking at the stranger's back, Monica crouched in the grass, her ears folded, and she meowed after a long time. At the window of the side building not far away, Austin was playing with ancient silver coins and took in the scene. He snorted coldly, "Put on your pants and leave." He is happy, but he has no sense of responsibility. The housekeeper Megan stood behind him and fell silent after hearing this. Wayne's way of petting the cat for his own pleasure reminded her of someone. Silence is a rational avoidance, leaving a decent space for the other party. Megan hopes that her silence can make the other party wake up in time. Austin's good impression of Wayne is very average. Even if he has not read the diary, he only conducted a series of outsourced investigations on Wayne, and he knew that this guy is not a good person. The most terrifying thing is FLA's evaluation of Wayne. He praised him with words and especially respected a junior. FLA is an excellent housekeeper, meticulous and accurate in judging people. Even he was fooled. It is conceivable that Veronica was basically given away for nothing. Austin thought of himself, and then thought of Veronica as Healy. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. If it wasn't for the fact that it was already done and there was nothing he could do, he would definitely use the simplest and most brutal method to make Wayne disappear. 3 months ago, Healy mentioned Wayne in front of Austin, and mentioned the nylon patent and the idea of stockings. The nylon patent is under the Landau family consortium. It is tough, wear-resistant, and has extremely high practical value. It is mainly used to produce military materials. There is nothing wrong with lending it to his wife to produce civilian clothing. Austin did not miss the opportunity to lick his wife, and agreed at the speed of light without blinking an eye. Healy was overjoyed and gave the licking dog a little good face. Then he praised the student's talent and character, just like FLA, and praised a lot. Austin did not agree with this. When he mentioned the student, Healy's look of joy was exactly the same as when he was deceived, no, coaxed by him. Austin did not think that stockings would become a hot item in the market, and sell well and become a darling that everyone was chasing after. In this day and age, selling arms is the way to go, and the bill exchange is the goose that lays golden eggs. He advises Healy to wake up, not to be blinded by the lies made up by Cement Bucket, and go home and live with the bank early. Indeed, any product related to people's livelihood will make a lot of money because of the market base. As a capitalist with excellent vision, Austin knows this very well and believes it. But stockings and the like are not essential supplies for life. How can a piece of dispensable clothing become a hit? And the cost is so low, and the price is so high. Let's not talk about the long term, just talking about the market purchasing power of London. The price of a pair of stockings is enough to make ordinary women stay away, and only middle-class women are eligible to consume. Cement Bucket is really bold. He really thinks that he has designed a piece of clothing, which can make all women crazy about it, and he is willing to sell his pot and iron or even sell himself to buy one. Naive and ignorant, it is natural, and he doesn't understand the market at a glance. Austin can imagine the scene of stockings being unsaleable. It's good. The cement barrel is exposed, and her wife can calm down. Even if the stockings can sell well, Austin will not change his evaluation of Wayne. People can't make money beyond their cognition. Wayne makes a lot of money by selling women's clothes, which can only show that he is a pervert in his bones. Austin didn't put millions in front of Wayne and let him take the money and disappear. The means were too low level. Wayne was Healy's student and one of Veronica's few friends. Even if the plan succeeded, he offended his wife and daughter at once, and he was the one who suffered. In addition, if Wayne refused millions, he could get more. For example, Veronica. Austin had no doubt that Wayne could succeed. Just like when he pursued Healy, it was a matter of time, sooner or later. So he took a two-pronged approach against Wayne. On the one hand, it was a beauty trap. The female star Lily Hayworth was charming and moving. You could tell she was a beauty by her singing. She took the initiative to pursue him, and no man could refuse. On the other hand, it was the Red Leaf Forest Asylum. Planck was born in the Free Mage Alliance, and the Tulip family was behind the Free Mage Alliance. Austin and Planck were not very familiar with each other, but he expected that if he took the initiative to speak, the other party would definitely do him a favor. Thinking of this, Austin suddenly grasped the ancient silver coin, and his mouth curled up slightly. He had seen the ending of Wayne. He was treated as an ordinary friend by Veronica because of the beauty trap, and lost the possibility of further development, and because of the continuous mental diagnosis notices of the mental hospital, he was drawn a clear line by the natural church, and Sci-fi had no choice but to give up the student. With intentional calculations and unintentional, with the overwhelming force, Wayne will inevitably leave this home. No matter what, the advantage is mine. Austin couldn't think of a reason to lose and laughed and asked Megan to bring the cat up. He was happy tonight and he wanted to stroke it a few times. The next morning, Sci-fi took a high-end black car to work at the church headquarters. She had decided to go home every night, so she didn't refuse the special car arranged by her husband. No more pretending, show your cards, her family is really rich. Wayne failed to get the teacher's car, so he was going to ask the butler to call one. The road was too far, so at least he could be sent to the gate. Before he could even open his mouth, he was caught by the dragon-blooded girl. "What's the matter? I apologized yesterday." Seeing Veronica coming aggressively, Wayne was a little panicked. If Austin saw him, he would definitely secretly plan against him. One person is not safe, but if there are 3 or 5, it might be a chain of tricks. Oh no, he won't use the honey trap. Wayne panicked even more. What if it was the housekeeper Megan who came in person? How should he deal with her? Let's go and read the diary. Veronica had a clear goal and was getting more and more addicted to reading. She regarded Wayne's diary as a social practice course and often thought about locking him in a small dark room to keep writing. "No way, are you so idle? Are you not going to school?" "Yeah." Veronica nodded. She was no longer a female college student. Now she was a fresh graduate waiting for employment. In June, when Wayne was still praying for the longevity of the Lord of the Void in Enroad Town, Veronica graduated successfully. She was currently idle and doing nothing all day. What a pity. Wayne was quite regretful that he didn't see the beautiful girl wearing graduation gowns. He didn't know if he could see cosplay in graduation gowns in the future. Evanston Women's College is divided into 2 campuses, inner and outer. There is nothing much to say about the outer campus. Except that they are all youthful girls, there is no other feature to speak of. The key lies in the inner courtyard, which is invested by the 3 Goddesses Life Alliance and has a complete magician training system, which is dedicated to supplying fresh blood to the 3 churches. But not all graduates will join the church, and more will be in the reserve. Generally speaking, they have their own lives and jobs. As an outstanding graduate, Veronica should be specially recruited by the church headquarters and given a stable job as a civil servant. As long as she doesn't make a big mistake, her life is basically stable. With a big stroke, Sci-fi deleted her daughter's name. Because of the Dark Night, the church suffered heavy losses and urgently needed a large blood transfusion. Also because of the Dark Night, it is not safe to join the church now. She didn't want to be worried every day, and suddenly received a call one day and learned the bad news that her daughter died at the hands of the Dark Night. In addition to the Death Knight whose purpose is unknown and whereabouts are also unknown, Sci-fi put her daughter in the reserve, continued to study, and waited for the call of the church at any time. On the other hand, Coach Dick also arranged Willie in this way. Unlike the Church of Nature, the Church of the Sun and the Church of the Moonlight have not developed well in London. In terms of level, the highest authority is the priest, and there is no high priest. Moreover, the Dark Knight only cares about suppressing the Church of Nature, and rarely takes action against the Church of the Sun and the Church of the Moonlight, unless the other party takes the initiative to provoke him. In this case, Willie was unemployed right after graduation. She worked as a poster girl in the gym every day, and she was so idle that she could only watch birds. This is also the reason why Veronica hurriedly arranged a detective agency for Wayne. She wanted a job that would make her look like a vagrant. "Austin, the bank is still short of a manager." "Veronica, don't talk to me." "Austin, this is 10 million. You take it to compensate first, and you will do business after compensating." "Veronica," I said, "don't talk to me. Raising a daughter is like this. The little cotton jacket leaks after wearing it for a long time. It is very difficult to endure the cold winter season. You can't throw it away. You have to wear it every day and say that you like the little cotton jacket the most. The two of them drove to number 13, Manor Street. For the first time, Veronica knew that she also had a home here. After entering the house, she immediately opened the diary and read it thoroughly. But soon, she saw the plot that closely followed current events. It's ridiculous. Did you write this paragraph for me on purpose? I only spoke before you, and you are the one who really broke your promise. Veronica was furious and asked Wayne to make up the diary for the next few days. Anyway, it's all nonsense, it's better to write it all until next year. Wayne couldn't beat the girl's amazing arm strength. He sat at the desk and wrote the future diary in one breath for half a month. He ate something in the basement at noon, and was taken to the West District Commercial Street by Veronica during afternoon tea time. What are you doing here? Are you going to buy me something? Wayne was overjoyed. The tentacle monster liked it, and the posture of the magic girl taking out money was really handsome. How is that possible? Why should I spend money on you? Veronica looked disgusted. After the car stopped, she pointed out the window and said, "Your detective agency is here. Remember the address. Don't go to the wrong door next time." Wayne looked out and saw 4-story shops, which were lined up from east to west all the way to the end of the street. One of the shops with the sign "Dawn Detective Agency" was crowded with people. Next door was a law firm, which was doing so well. Great. I didn't expect that my business would be so good before I opened the shop. Wayne was overjoyed and looked at Veronica happily, putting on a boss's face. It's just that the name Dawn is not suitable. I still like Wayne Detective Agency. Assistant Way, change it now before it officially opens. What nonsense are you talking about? That's not your detective agency. Veronica pointed to the opposite side of the Dawn Detective Agency. That's over there. It hasn't been renovated yet. Wayne was confused. So, what's the matter with this Dawn Detective Agency? Why is the business so good? Is this the wealthy West End? Wow, there are so many rich and conflicted couples. Okay, I'll just steal their business from now on. I'll tell you in a low voice, don't spread it. Veronica looked around. It is said that the Dawn Detective Agency is related to the belief in the goddess of death, and the law firm next door is also opened by them. Wayne, winky face, yeah, when I first heard the news, I was also shocked. Veronica nodded with a serious face. The followers of the goddess of death actually provide free services. The mastermind behind them must have bad intentions. The most outrageous thing is that several churches actually acquiesced in the small actions of death believers. Wayne said nothing and looked tremblingly at the detective agency that belonged to him across from Dawn Detective Agency. The front door is blank and has not opened yet. The future business can be imagined. At this moment, a chorus of shouts came from outside the car window. I love Dawn. I love Dawn. I love Dawn. Wayne, dis. MD, they are actually free and even have slogans. This is a cult. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 87. I love Dawn. I love Dawn. A team of 30 or 50 people came from nowhere, holding homemade billboards, telling the brilliant achievements of the Dawn Detective Agency and the law firm along the street. Not long after the establishment of the detective agency, it has reached long-term cooperation with several newspapers, and has contracted a section to publish plain evidence and bravely expose the darkness and injustice of society. The scope of the crackdown is extremely wide, from the bottom social gangs, to the middle-level tax thieves who neglect their duties, to the upper-level parliamentarians and other officials. All commissions have conclusive investigation results. Under normal circumstances, such ignorant detective agencies and law firms will not last long. They will face suspension and rectification for various reasons after opening for only 3 or 5 days. But the Dawn Detective Agency still survived tenaciously and also set off a huge discussion in London. Several churches remained silent, unwilling to face the death night. The official threats and intimidation were blocked by ABO and Officer Green, who took the blame. Whoever dared to obstruct ABO's justice, he would expose his black material. Qualified people avoid suspicion and do not want to be bitten by dogs, while unqualified people cannot afford to offend and are afraid of being bitten to death by dogs, which has led to this shit-stirring stick swaying and no one dares to touch it until now. This strong wind that blew up quickly swept across the streets and alleys, and accumulated a large number of supporters among the grassroots people, especially those poor people who had nowhere to turn to. A free aid in desperation was exchanged for tears of heart and brain. When these people are serious, they are much tougher than the followers of the goddess of death who are afraid of death. For example, the parade team that Wayne saw was spontaneously organized by the people who were assisted. They have work and are very busy, but in order to express their gratitude, they come to help promote it every day. Winky face. Inside the car window, two faces silently watched the parade go away. Veronica held her breath and concentrated. According to her guess, there were followers of the goddess of death in the team. They have expanded rapidly recently and attracted a large number of ignorant people. A drop of cold sweat fell on Wayne's forehead. As far as he knew, in this era of chaotic beliefs, there was a guiding ideology with extremely firm beliefs. Especially in Windsor, this guiding ideology was very popular among the nobles. It was not an exaggeration to describe it as flooding. It is inconvenient to explain in detail. Just take the sickle and hammer to fight. Wayne thought further than Veronica. Just now, the scenery in front of him flashed, and the followers of the goddess of death tore off their black robes and shouted that everyone should unite. Maybe I think too much, but it should be sooner or later. The wealthy West District is like this, the South and East districts where the working class gather will be in great trouble. Oh my God, the Queen will not be overthrown and reduced to working as a maid to make a living, right? Wayne shuddered, and hallucinations appeared in front of him again. This time, the one wearing a black robe was no longer a believer, but the goddess of death, holding the Reaper's scythe. As for the hammer, the Death Knight is just a hammer. What are you shaking there? Veronica looked at Wayne with dissatisfaction, shaking and shaking dishonestly, and the car shook with it. Nothing, let's go to the detective agency, I mean Wayne Detective Agency. Otherwise, do you want to join in the fun with the believers of death? Veronica pouted. Wayne is a believer of the goddess of nature. If he dares to show his identity, he will definitely be beaten with sticks. Wayne snorted twice, indicating that he was very angry. The lady was right, and the two entered the Wayne Detective Agency, which was still under renovation. The renovation project was contracted by the Landau family's decoration company, which focused on being fast, good and economical. It was renovated on the basis of the original shop and will be officially open soon. The detective agency is divided into 3 floors. The first floor is the lobby and reception center. The second floor is the reception room, staff office, and executive meeting room. The third floor is the boss and assistant office, plus a warehouse and a separate green plant potting room. The second and third floors have been laid out with office supplies, and only the first floor is still undergoing the final decoration. When Wayne moves his detective agency here, it can open at any time. Wayne stood by the window and looked helplessly at the opposite side. If I'm not mistaken, this street must be yours, right? Yeah. I knew it. Then the question is, why did you choose the location of the detective agency opposite the Death Church base? Wayne was puzzled. Assistant Way, did you secretly contact the Death Church behind my back? Veronica rolled her eyes. She was also puzzled by this matter. It was outrageous that the death believers were blatantly active. What was even more outrageous was that they could actually take over the commercial street store of the Landau family. Where did the money come from? Who sponsored it? Don't say it was Mr. Landau, otherwise my mother would definitely make him kneel down. Veronica frowned and was full of doubts. At first, She didn't know what the Dawn Detective Agency was about, and just thought it was an ordinary competitor. It didn't matter. She was not afraid of competition. Anyway, she didn't expect Wayne to make the detective agency back. Later, he learned from Willie that the opposite side was the Death Believer's base, and jumped to the part of questioning life. Why? Wayne probably knew some of the reasons and continued to tease Veronica. The latter frowned and racked her brains, which was very cute. At first glance, she was not very smart. She was beautiful, had a rich family, and was stupid. She was perfect. After a while, Veronica thought fruitlessly and could not give Wayne a reasonable explanation, so she began to divert attention, reminding Wayne that the detective agency was opening and he had to register with the White Glove Association and pay a membership fee. What is the White Glove Association? Why do I have to give them money when I open a business? Wayne didn't understand. In his hometown, people only receive red envelopes for opening businesses. The White Gloves Association is London's detective association. As a detective, you don't even have this bit of common sense, right? Veronica raised her eyebrows. Chrissy, who writes about detectives, knows this. Of course I know this. Wayne picked up the topic smoothly and raised his eyebrows in response. I just think it doesn't matter whether you add it or not. It's not easy for you to ask for money from your family. There's no need to waste it in vain. I didn't ask for it, it's all interest on pocket money. Wayne stopped saying anything. It was his fault. Next time he uses saving money as an excuse, he will be a hammer. Let's do this. When the detective agency is renovated, we will have a small party on the third floor. Veronica is looking forward to it. When she becomes an assistant, she will give Willie a salary and ask him to come over and work as a clerk. It's a pity that the senior sister is still studying in the college and has no idea of entering the society to work. Otherwise, the three of them will work hard together. Just thinking about it would be worth looking forward to. I don't have a problem, just don't break the appointment this time. Hee hee. Veronica's expression changed. She grabbed Wayne's collar and pressed him against the wall. I get angry when I talk about this. You obviously broke the appointment, but in the end I am the only one apologizing. No, see you next time. You must apologize to both of them in person, especially Chris, for missing her birthday. Okay, I'll drink 2 more drinks then to make amends. Wayne nodded seriously. As far as he knew, small gatherings like this usually had reserved events such as Truth or Dare or the Queen's Game. Looking forward to it. JPG. What, you said you can't do it? In the office, Alston held the phone and said dissatisfiedly, the Free Mage Alliance has a large number of research projects every year. I have never rejected them when applying for grants. It is difficult for you to issue a certificate now. If you do this, it will be difficult for me in the future. Let me help you speak. Rightward arrow. Mr. Alston, don't be angry yet. On the other side of the phone, Plank did not get carried away when faced with the unexpected surprise, and calmly analyzed, the magician apprentice Wayne you are talking about, I know who he is, your wife, a student of the High Priest of the Church of Nature, right? Austin's face turned cold. Plank knew too much. Please don't get me wrong, I didn't deliberately focus on the Landau family, but I learned about this by accident. Plank told the story of the unlucky Sydney and said, because of this unexpected encounter, I happened to save a lucky guy named Wayne. He was affected by the battle and almost died there. What a pity. Mr. Alston, it seems you are very prejudiced against him. This has nothing to do with you, you just need to tell me whether it works or not. In principle it's definitely not possible. Plank continued, the High Priestess attaches great importance to her students. Even I can't offend her for no reason. It has nothing to do with money, no matter how much the price increases. The key is that I need an excuse, Mr. Alston, can you arrange an excuse for me to avoid the wrath of the high priest? After saying that, Planck, who was holding the phone, raised the corners of his mouth and secretly said something interesting. Wayne, we are meeting again. T-Gonsi. You are an expert on how to arrange things. After talking for a long time, it's just that the sponsorship fee is too small. Let's just tell you, how much funding are you planning to apply for next year? Austin flatly refused. He approached Planck just so that he wouldn't offend he. How can you take the blame on yourself? So, he chose to add money. Mr. Alston, I heard that the Queen's warehouse contains some ancient artifacts from the mythical era. Can you see if you can? Impossible. Mr. Alston, the Free Mage Alliance is the shield and sword of the royal family. It restricts religious sects for the royal family. We have neither merit nor suffering. This is impossible. Austin interrupted again, and after thinking for a while, he said, I won't give you an excuse, but I will find a way to transfer Wayne out of London to give you a chance to get him, and next year's funding will not be a problem. Thank you for your generosity. After Planck finished speaking, he hung up the phone, stroking his stiff beard and having a great time. Austin doesn't need to ask, he will go to Wayne in a few days. Now that he's done, he's got an opportunity to double his funding next year. The critical illness notice was out of the question. Austin wanted to beat Wayne to death with a stick. This was not in line with Planck's expectations. He had another way to make Austin pay. Planck took out the prop box and rummaged through it, sifting through the small items one by one. Darkness, death, and nature are opposites. Just prove to him that Wayne has been contaminated and is no longer a devout believer in nature. Which one is better? After some careful consideration, Gangplank held the dark ring. Kid Wayne, I helped you solve such a big trouble, plus the previous life-saving grace, twice in total. How should you thank me? Don't worry, if the old man has any bad intentions, I won't impose any conditions, and I don't need you to be my student. Just join our Free Mage Alliance. Back in the office, Austin puts down the phone and starts making plans. Holding the ancient silver coin in hand, he contacted the housekeeper Megan and asked where the cement bucket was now, and received a rather terrible answer. I went out with the eldest lady. Austin raised his hands to cover his face. Veronica was good in everything except being too naive, just like Sifty in the past, destined to be deceived by bad men. When people want to accomplish something, whether in love or work and life, they must master the law of three elements: persistence, shamelessness, and persistence in shamelessness. Many people think that people with thick skin are very lucky and are successful illegitimate children. The fact is just the opposite. People with thick skin have experienced more failures. They rely on the spirit of shamelessness to overcome difficulties and finally realize their dreams. Sifty was determined to be a saint, and she did not say a word to a group of suitors. Austin was able to win the beauty because of her shamelessness. At this moment, just like at that time, Wayne's persistence made Austin unwilling to wait any longer. If he delayed, something would happen. His mother had been deceived by a bad man once, and she couldn't let her daughter repeat the same mistake. Where did they go? The detective agency owned by the eldest lady on the commercial street in the West District. Very good, let the white gloves speed up the approval and complete the membership on the same day. Austin came up with a plan and thought of a way to transfer Wayne out of London. He was a cautious person, and only one plan was not safe, so he planned to add another helper. Ding-ling-ling. The phone rang, and after Austin answered the phone, the gloom on his face instantly disappeared. Ms. Hayworth, I'm glad to receive your call. Have you finally figured it out? As Mr. Landau said, it's hard to make a living in London without a background. I still have pursuits in art and don't want to leave the stage early, the female star on the other side of the phone said helplessly. It's a pity. Your pursuit of art is worthy of recognition, but art cannot be separated from life. There is always some unspeakable darkness behind the glamour. Austin nodded with satisfaction and got to the point. As far as I know, Miss Hayworth has not had any commercial performances recently, and her schedule has been empty. Mr. Landau is really a prophet. Not really, I've just seen many meteors like you. Austin continued, a film crew will contact you soon. You will play the leading role in a monster-themed movie about Beauty and the Beast. The main filming location is an island in the North Sea. When you are on a cruise ship, you will meet a man who is your target. What's his name? Lily Hayworth was very curious about what the man who made the head of the Landau family obsessed with looked like. Someone will hand you the information at that time. I wish you a big hit in the movie in advance. Austin hung up the phone, stood up and stood in front of the window, arranging all the moves with both hands. It's time to let the little pervert show his true colors. But there is one more thing. In order to prevent the salted fish from turning over and entering the overtime, he had to plant an undercover agent next to Wayne by using shamelessness to win back the trust of Healy and Veronica. Austin picked up the phone and dialed the villa in Enroard Town. After the maid answered the phone, she handed it to the housekeeper. FLA. FLA, you are going back to London. Yes, Master Austin. The lady told me that I will regard Master Wayne as my master in the future and assist him with all my strength. FLA, are you still willing to work for the Landau family? Master Austin, working for the Landau family is my oath, and I am always willing to do so. That's good, keep an eye on that kid, and report to me at any time if there is any situation. FLA. Follow your orders, Master Austin. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 88. Sydney's ancestral home is located at 11 Sir Road, West London. Like all natural believers who are close to nature, the three-story mansion is located in a vast garden shaded by green trees. The exterior is dominated by stone walls. It seems unremarkable, but in fact, the interior decoration is luxurious, full of the classical aristocratic style of the old Union Jack in London. The black car entered the gate of the mansion, passed through the tree-lined road and stopped at the gate. After getting off the car, Wayne walked around the three-story mansion. According to He, Sydney was unfortunately hospitalized for mental problems and received talk therapy. When the church handed over the work, it was accidentally discovered that this frugal priest had problems such as taxation and the unknown source of huge wealth. The church had the courage to review and took the initiative to report the matter to the tax department. After some operations, the evidence was conclusive, and Sydney's ancestral house was sealed and handed over to the legal department for auction. An open auction that was only conducted internally. A low-key second-generation rich man named Wayne bought the property rights and completed all the procedures at the speed of light. The property and other documents are all well documented, and his private property is sacred and inviolable. Wayne, when did I participate in the auction and when did I sign? He, this is the property certificate. Wayne, yes, it's me. One should not care too much, especially not to ask questions, and must pretend to be stupid when it is time to pretend to be stupid. Wayne said that he was not pretending to be stupid, he was really stupid, and if there is a next time, please consider him first. No other meaning, he likes to suffer. Master Wayne. Hearing a familiar voice coming from behind, Wayne turned his head and saw the monocled butler FLA, who was overjoyed and stepped forward to give a hug. FLA, it's really you. Yes, FLA Ilahul will serve you from today. FLA bent down slightly, stood up and tidied up the slightly messy corners of Wayne's clothes. Wayne opened his hands, willing to be tossed around by the other party, and was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. As the saying goes, a day of separation is like a long time. He and the butler have been separated for 28 days, 16 hours and 34 minutes, which is 100 years if rounded up. He almost missed the butler. Sure enough, FLA is still the best. I feel at ease with you. Wayne sighed again, and once again stood up for FLA. Megan and others are very good, but the impression she left on him is not related to the butler. She is beautiful, has a good figure and good temperament. She is more like the president's personal secretary than the butler. The president calls when there is something, and the secretary calls when there is nothing. I'm getting off topic. What Wayne meant was that Megan was too beautiful. Every time he stood with Austin, he couldn't help but look at the two of them with colored eyes. Teacher Sci-fi is not only the high priest of the Church of Nature, but she also has bright green short hair. FLA is different. Her words, actions, and every part of her body are the benchmark of the butler. Wayne likes him the most. Wayne's love for FLA is undisguised, from the heart and full of enthusiasm. FLA saw it, and her old heart couldn't help but tremble a few times. When he was in Enrolled Town, Wayne had defended FLA, thinking that he was far better than Megan and the best housekeeper of the Landau family. He said that he would mention this matter to Austin after returning to London, and strive to transfer FLA back to London. FLA was a little expectant, because he was afraid that the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment, so he didn't expect too much. Unexpectedly, before a month had passed, he received a call to be transferred back to London. He told FLA on the phone that this time when he returned to London, he would no longer serve Austin. The new owner was Wayne, who was happy to get a new house and named FLA when choosing a housekeeper. FLA was very honored to be recognized by Wayne. A man would die for his confidant, and he was willing to serve the new master for the rest of his life. But received a call from Austin. FLA was a little confused at the moment. Wayne was an excellent master, and so was Austin. Caught between the new and old masters, she didn't know how to choose. FLA, when did you come? Wayne walked into the big house and saw 4 familiar female warriors, giving each of them a hug after a long separation. Time seemed to have gone back to a month ago. He liked this new home. I arrived in London early this morning. I am counting your assets. FLA picked up the registration form on the side, which recorded the property of Wayne's house in detail, no matter how big or small, and all were clearly planned by category. This is called professionalism. Wayne gave a thumbs up and said sincerely, "Don't tire yourself out. There is still a long time to live. Let's prepare the hot pot first. You don't know that I ate whatever the dog ate for 28 days, 16 hours, and 36 minutes without you. I had a miserable life." FLA smiled but said nothing. This can't be said casually. As far as he knows, Wayne attended the family dinner as a young master. Wayne had just arrived at the new home and didn't know anything. FLA prepared for a whole morning in advance and introduced Wayne from top to bottom. There was nothing he didn't know. Too professional. I can't imagine how I can live without you in the future. An hour later, the maid prepared the hot pot and rice. Wayne invited them to sit down and eat together. FLA refused to have lunch on behalf of the 4 maids, but under Wayne's threat of hunger strike, the housekeeper and the maids still had lunch with the new master. After dinner, FLA continued to count the assets. His professional ethics for decades made him have extremely high requirements for himself. His workload is very heavy. Not only does he have to check against the legal bills one by one, but he also has to re-evaluate the value of each item. From the area of the mansion, the distribution ratio of the mansion and the garden, to the furniture and artworks, even the number of steps on the stairs, he has to personally confirm to ensure that the interests of the owner are not violated. At the same time, when the owner asks, he must answer as soon as possible. Wayne is not so troublesome. He enters the office study, takes out a key given to him by Sif, opens the desk drawer and spreads out several drawings one by one. Wayne's new home is a magic fortress, a magic creation of a golden wizard with painstaking efforts, and its intrinsic value far exceeds the auction price. If Sif hadn't relied on Sif's status as the high priest to secretly operate, and if it weren't for the face of the Landau family, it would have been put on the shelf and auctioned at the speed of light. If it weren't for Wayne himself. Well, the rent owed by his detective agency was still paid by Veronica. The mansion has several magical defenses, from the outermost forest to the core triple defense, which is tight and leak-proof, and is called impregnable by Sci-fi. The word impregnable has been played out. If you look into the reason, it's all someone's fault. There are too many jokes about this topic, so Wayne will not mock the other party. He memorized the drawings in his mind and prepared to try them one by one when it was late at night. Let's not talk about the outermost natural protection barrier, which is a sharp weapon for clearing small soldiers. The strong ones can't be stopped, and the weak ones can be used as fertilizer. The core triple defenses are 6-pointed stars, cross stars, and triangle stars, which correspond to black forging, silver, and gold according to the magic level. If Sydney hadn't stopped at the gold mage, it would probably have added the life force field of the legendary mage. Wayne picked up the phone on the desk and called Veronica, telling her to write down the phone number and contact her often. By the way, please tell Willie and Chris that they can contact him directly by calling this number. The owner of the mansion was changed from Sydney to Wayne. To prevent Sydney's old subordinates from harassing him by phone, the original phone number was also changed. Not long after, Wayne received a call from Willie. The believers of the Sun Goddess were full of energy and were excited to come to Wayne's house tonight to spend the night. And they wanted to have a big meal. Seeing her in high spirits, Wayne was also a little excited. Unfortunately, he couldn't get an erection. After that, Wayne received calls from Veronica and Chris. The 3 magic girls would come to his house tonight and bring gifts to congratulate him. There was no need for gifts. We were all friends. Being too polite would make us look distant. If you really want to, you can just wrap it in a bigger package and get into it. After the call, Wayne called the housekeeper FLA. The party of the detective agency was moved to the new house. There were 3 female guests in the evening. Remember to buy more dishes and chopsticks. By the way, he called a truck. While it was still early, he moved the detective agency's home here today. There are a lot of things in the detective agency. Ignoring the sprouted potatoes, there are many items that must be moved. Perhaps 99% of them will not be used. With FLA, everything will be updated, but Wayne is reluctant to throw them away. He thinks it is better to put them in the warehouse, just in case they are used in the future. The housekeeper is very efficient and asks 2 maids to go with Wayne to the detective agency to move. The truck has already set off and will arrive at the destination before them. Wayne Detective Agency. Wayne pushed the door and walked in, pointing to the bookshelf in the office, and asked the 2 maids to pack and box them, and arrange to send them to the new detective agency in the commercial street tomorrow. Wayne used to eat and live in the detective agency. There was no choice due to limited conditions. In the future, work and life will be separated, and the items in the detective agency will be sent to the new home and the commercial street respectively. Books and other items that are used as storefronts, archives of the old detective agency, etc. will be sent to the commercial street, and personal items will be packed and sent to the new home. For example, the diary, he has already put it in the bedroom. I don't mean anything else. After all, it is personal privacy. It is not safe to put it in the study. There was also the bed on the 3rd floor where Veronica had slept for a night. It was not easy to deal with it casually. It was not suitable to throw it away, and there was no use for keeping it, so it was packed and sent to the new home. Forget about the bed where Willie had slept. At that time, she was still a big muscle man. Wayne felt that the quilt was smelly, so he asked the maid to move it to the backyard, put it in a cement bucket and burn it directly. There were also the original body's spellcasting materials and the photo posters of the female star Lily Hayworth in the archives. Wayne hesitated for 0.25 seconds and decisively packed it and sent it to the new home. It seemed useless, but there was no guarantee that it would come in handy in the future, so he kept it in the warehouse. When dealing with the bedroom on the second floor, Wayne picked out a few decent clothes, and asked the maid to send the rest, including the sheets and quilt covers, to the backyard to be burned. When he opened the bed, Wayne found a black suitcase in the interlayer of the bedboard. The maid was burning in the backyard, Aubin was sleeping on the ground, and Wayne was opening the suitcase on the second floor. Radio. A binary communication tool that can emit beeping code sounds when connected to a power source and the user manually presses a button. Wayne had only seen this thing in movies before. The users usually have two images, a handsome and heroic operator on the righteous side and a spy from an enemy country with a pointed face or red lips and big waves on the evil side. I must be on the righteous side because I'm so handsome. A drop of cold sweat fell on Wayne's forehead. He closed the suitcase tremblingly. After 3 seconds, he changed his posture and opened it again. The radio is still the same radio. It will not become something else just because it is opened in a different way. Bang. Wayne closed the suitcase abruptly and refused. Impossible, absolutely impossible. He paced back and forth in the empty bedroom and said to himself, I used to be an idle third-rate detective. As a detective, it is normal to have your own radio station. I was afraid of being misunderstood, so I hid it under the bed. It makes sense, that's it. It must be like this. Wayne found a reason to comfort himself and was immediately overjoyed. A third-rate spy with no abilities, a third-rate detective. He only knows how to buy peripherals and write pornographic books. How come there are so many messy settings? Don't think about it. It's for sure I'm overthinking it. Mr. Wayne, where will this box be sent? The maid asked, standing at the door. Sent to new home. Wayne felt a sudden panic in his heart that his secret had been discovered. He waved his hands and said, forget it, I will handle the boxes myself, and I will clean the second and third floors myself. You can go to the office on the first floor to see if there is anything missing. The maid obeyed the order and left. Wayne was already sweating on his forehead. The sudden setting made him unprepared. Even though it had nothing to do with him, he still couldn't help but feel guilty. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Spies need to keep in touch. I haven't used the radio for so long and they haven't come to my house to look for me. Wayne fell silent mid-sentence. A pure passerby, it has not been easy to find him in recent months. It doesn't matter. I have entered the magical world and am no longer an ordinary person. The grudges in the world have nothing to do with me. Wayne frowned. He was him, and his original body was his original body. He just happened to take advantage of this move. Say goodbye to the past once and for all. Besides, he is already a magician, can the other party still come after him? Give you a cement bucket. Wayne checked the bedroom and the archives room on the second floor to make sure there were no suspicious items. He went to the backyard and buried the suitcase in the ground and told Aubin to hide it. He doesn't want his past identity, now he only wants to make money and magic. Wayne House. Wayne sat on the sofa in the living room with a melancholy look on his face. The new setting came too suddenly. In this war-shrouded background, he was afraid that someone would come to give him a pair of silver bracelets one day. Looking on the bright side, the intelligence agency in Windsor understands everything. It's just a joke. As long as I don't tell it, no one will know. Mr. Wayne, are you concerned? Former Windsor intelligence agent and housekeeper Fura stood beside Wayne at some point while holding a pot of black tea. There is something on my mind. Seeing Fula, Wayne felt inexplicably relieved and asked for help. Butler, have you ever been in an embarrassing situation? I don't know how to describe it. Because my identity is very complicated, I don't care, but I still don't care. I'm afraid to express my feelings. I don't want it, but I don't know who to turn to reject it. Fu Le's heart skipped a beat, and the hand that poured the black tea shook slightly. After a while, he said bitterly, "Mr. Wayne, I didn't expect you to know so soon." "What? What do you know? Do we know what we mean? Frat, are you having another master behind my back?" Wayne raised his brows, took the black tea and sniffed it under his nose, and said solemnly, "Yes, I know everything. Just tell me. There are no outsiders. As expected of you, you discovered it so quickly. I thought I could hide it for a while at least." Fola stood beside Wayne, lowering his head like a student who made a mistake. "I'm very sorry. Before returning to London, Mr. Alston asked me." "Wait a minute, the title is wrong. I don't want to hear you call others master." Wayne raised his hand to interrupt. Fula's name to Austin made him feel heavy on his forehead. "Mr. Alston has contacted me. He asked me to continue serving the Landau family and treat him as my master in the future. I will report your every move to him at any time." Fula did not hide anything. He did not want to lie to his master. "Did you agree? Promise." Fula's face turned gloomy. He had lost the trust of his master. As expected, it was time to take the train back to Inlord Town tonight. "Then did you hesitate? There are some." "Enough." Wayne stood up, straightened Fura's collar, and said with a smile, "The days are still long, maybe you still belong to him now, but sooner or later I will take you back with my own hands." "But..." Fula was so moved that even so, Wayne still dared to trust him. "I couldn't have asked for a better steward than you. Mr. Landau can live without you, but I can't." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Restarting the Myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 89. Mr. Landau can live without you, but I can't. Every word was so deafening that Fla's heartbeat quickened. When he thought of Megan beside Austin, he felt mixed emotions. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. When he was about to say something, the doorbell rang and the guests had arrived outside the manor. "Don't worry about it. I don't care. As I said, time will prove everything." Wayne smiled and asked Fla to get into work mode. It was the first time for the new home to receive guests, and there were 3 ladies. They must maintain elegant etiquette. Fla nodded, bowed slightly and left. "This is my first confession. Please don't dump me." Looking at Fla's back, Wayne whispered, and Austin's face appeared in his mind. He labeled him as a villain. Wayne felt that he was cheated. Austin had always been the victim, but he didn't expect that today the identities were reversed and the victim turned into a yellow-haired man. The pure love god of war was pressed by the Minotaur step by step. At this moment, he came to the edge of the cliff. There was a deep abyss behind him, and he could not retreat. No, Fla is the steward of the Landau family. He came here first. I cheated on him. Wayne changed his mind and suddenly realized that the pure love warrior standing on the edge of the cliff was not him, but Austin. The Minotaur god of war with a battle axe in his hand was him. So I'm not the pure love god of war. Wayne secretly said that it was bad luck. Although, life is like this. People often live the most annoying life. There is a guest named Landau among the guests tonight. The son pays for the father's debt. It's you. I'll give you 2 more glasses tonight to get back some interest first. In front of the house, a black car stopped and 3 beautiful girls with youthful looks got off. 2 blondes and 1 platinum, let's just say they are 3 yellow-haired. Willie looked up at Wayne's new home, holding her chest and said sadly, "Veronica, tell me the truth, he can live in such a nice house, did you spend money to support him?" "No." Veronica turned her head to look aside. It was not her who supported Wayne, but her mother. "Damn, the guy who could only eat potatoes a few months ago suddenly became a rich man. I'm so sad." Willie was heartbroken and vowed to turn grief into appetite, try to eat Wayne into a pauper in one night, and then move back to the downtrodden detective agency. If you can't get poor by eating once, then eat more meals, and she will come every day in the future. Anyway, the gym is not far from here, and it takes 20 minutes to get there by bike. Chris smiled and looked at the two of them. Her smile was somewhat lost. From Veronica, she learned that Wayne had joined the Church of Nature. Moreover, Wayne's teacher is the new high priest, Veronica's mother. Obviously she came first. She was the first to discover Wayne's talent, and the first to teach Wayne how to use magic. Chris regretted it very much. If it weren't for something that happened more than 3 months ago, Wayne should have believed in the moonlight goddess like her. "Goddess, where can I find a time machine?" "3 distinguished guests, welcome to your arrival." Wayne put on a custom-made black suit and came to the door with a dignified look. When he saw the 3 beautiful girls, he opened his arms and waited for a long-awaited hug. Veronica looked contemptuous. What was she thinking? How could there be a hug? "Ah, Wayne." Willie rushed out with a brisk step, hit Wayne's chest hard, and gave him a very intimate hug. Wayne was knocked back a step, and took Willie to pick her up and turned around. Willie, who had uncursed her height, was less than 1.7 meters tall, and her personality was very compatible, making the two of them look like a couple in the same frame. Wayne put Willie down, turned to look at Chris, and opened his arms to prepare for another time. Thanks to Willie for the assist, otherwise he would at most kiss her fingernails. "Me too." Chris looked at Wayne in surprise, and when he nodded repeatedly, she smiled and gave him a hug. She was very gentle, and her character was much more ladylike than Willie. The hug was not intimate, but she had a good sense of proportion, neither distant nor overly intimate. Pervert. Veronica mercilessly revealed someone's true face, and when she saw Wayne looking at her, she snorted coldly. Willie was an exception, and Chris was embarrassed by her feelings. There were reasons for the 2 hugs. If she didn't, Wayne would never get her hug. "Veronica, you are here too, the gift is great, I like it very much." Wayne nodded and greeted, and the gentleman took the fingertips of the 2 beautiful girls and invited them into his home. "When I was in En-Road Town, I found a new way to cook delicious food. I wonder if you like it?" "Is it delicious?" "Very delicious." "Then I like it." Veronica. Why is there no hug when it comes to her? Shouldn't she have sternly refused Wayne's request for a hug? Why did she just leave? What does that mean? Do you look down on her? Veronica gritted her teeth and followed behind Wayne. It's fine if she didn't give him a chance to refuse the hug, but he even deliberately didn't hold her hand. This bastard is getting more and more hateful. At the table, the host and the guests sat down. There was no complicated serving process for hot pot. The combination of meat and vegetables depended on personal preference. Because the base was too greasy and the guests were 3 girls, FLA prepared another clear soup pot and arranged a small dining table with fruits. When counting the family property, FLA found a secret compartment in the basement, which contained several bundles of cash, 3 boxes of jewelry and diamonds, and 2 boxes of gold. The secret compartment did not exist on the legal bill, and FLA did not say or ask, and directly included it in Wayne's personal property, and made a financial list for the owner to sign. Sydney's property must be more than this little money. FLA guessed that there were surprises elsewhere in the manor, and told Wayne this guess. Wayne transferred the property, leaving only cash for the butler to manage daily expenses. He would leave the surprises to Aubin, who was an expert in digging holes. Back to the table, the 3 girls were not very interested in the rolling red pot, nor did they show a strong interest in the clear soup pot. At least they were not as addicted as Wayne imagined, and they ate until they were full. It has nothing to do with taste, it's just a simple eating habit. The four of them ate and talked, and Wayne apologized to Chris for not being in London some time ago and missing her birthday party. Birthday parties are trivial matters, the problem is that you believe in the goddess of nature. When Chris thought of this, she couldn't be happy, pretending to be indifferent, and congratulated Wayne on finding an excellent teacher. By the way, Veronica told me before that you have prepared a lot of teaching materials. It just so happens that I am still in the introductory stage of magic. Can you continue to guide me? Wayne looked sincere. Yes, but does your teacher have any objections? The teacher is very busy. I have been studying on my own. If you can help, it would be great. Pervert. A precise and pertinent comment was inserted into the conversation, but it did not affect Chris's reply. She once promised Wayne that she would tutor him in the basics of magic. Wayne, look here. Willie took a banana from the small dining table, peeled it and ate it horizontally. Wayne did not understand, and Veronica and Chris at the same table were also puzzled. Is there anything particular about this way of eating? Wayne asked curiously. I read it in the book. This is the way ladies eat, Willie said proudly. You are worthy of it? It still tastes the same. Rightward arrow. Wayne's mouth twitched. After Willie's guidance, he immediately understood the deep meaning. Girl, I tell you dirty jokes to see your shy and cute look, not to let you tell a more dirty one. And I haven't started yet. Veronica and Chris are still full of questions. Seeing Willie winking and Wayne lowering his head to eat, they are even more curious. Stop guessing, tell me quickly. Veronica even picked up the banana and ate it sideways, trying to crack the mystery. Chris thought for a moment, suddenly realized, pulled Veronica's sleeve, and whispered the reason. Stop eating, you look like a fool. Veronica's face flushed, and she angrily stuck the banana on the plate. Willie was very experienced, and seeing the situation was not good, she decisively ran away. Unfortunately, she was defeated in the living room and was pressed on the sofa by Veronica. Wrong, wrong, Wayne, come and save me, my arm is about to break. Humph, no one can save you today, will you dare to do it next time? I will dare to do it next time. Ah. This is what a normal girl would do when she meets a dragon-blooded girl. Wayne looked at Willie in amazement, who was proficient in 108 ways to make Veronica mad. With her around, Wayne didn't even have to say anything, and there was endless fun to watch just sitting there. Living room. FLA put down the black tea and left. As a professional butler, he knew when he should show up and when he shouldn't. On the two sofas, Veronica and Willie got along well, and Wayne and Chris picked up the black tea at the same time, blowing in the same motion. This time, they looked more like a couple than a couple. Opposite them were two naughty kids. Wayne took out a bottle of red wine from the wine cabinet. He was happy tonight and asked if anyone wanted a drink for adults. Pervert. Except for Willie, who was willing to show up, the other two refused. Wayne shrugged and put the red wine back into the wine cabinet. In fact, he didn't like drinking very much. It was just that the atmosphere was right and he felt that there was an opportunity. Without the help of alcohol, the two reserved programs that Wayne was looking forward to were not very popular. There was no explosion throughout the whole process. After playing for 2 hours, he didn't take off a single piece of clothing. Boring. It's really interesting. It was 10 o'clock in the evening. Willie, who had been losing all the time, was still enjoying it. Chris looked at the time. It was very late. She should go back to the school dormitory. Veronica, who had been winning, was also ready to say goodbye. Willie was not very happy and wanted to continue. It would be best if she could play until 12 o'clock. But, school will be back in a while. It doesn't matter. I plan to stay here tonight. Chris, just stay with me. Willie hugged the senior's arm and begged. Chris couldn't resist the soft and hard persuasion, and looked at Wayne awkwardly. The latter nodded seriously. Willie is right. It's not safe to walk at night. I will ask the housekeeper to clean up the 2 guest rooms immediately. These 2 rooms will be reserved for you in the future. Remember to bring some daily necessities next time you come. Wayne is great. No, no, I have to thank you for your help. Veronica. Traitor. We agreed to come together and leave together. Why did you change your mind? Also, didn't anyone ask her if she was willing to stay tonight? Veronica, are you going home tonight? It's this late. If you don't go back, at least call home. Wayne took the initiative to speak. Humph, pervert. Veronica rolled her eyes at Wayne. Where is the phone? In the study. Wayne stood up and led the 3 beautiful girls around the big house. I guess you will come here often in the future. I will show you the way. Although it is deserted here, there is one advantage. There is no preaching from the elders. It doesn't matter if you run around barefoot in pajamas in the corridor. Great, I will move my family here tomorrow. Willie was overjoyed. Well, I'm afraid that won't work. Wayne's eyelids jumped. It was not that he couldn't do it, but that the gays didn't want to. If Willie really moved here, this family would fall apart the next day, physically falling apart. C0. No words were spoken that night, and the wind and waves were calm. The maid drove the 3 beautiful girls away, and then went to the commercial street to move. When she came back in the afternoon, she brought Wayne a black invitation. The wax on the back was printed with the seal of the White Glove Association. Wayne opened the invitation envelope, which contained a document, a check, and a boat ticket. Dear Mr. Wayne, we have received your application for membership. We are very honored to inform you that you have passed the approval. You are now a member of our White Glove Detective Association. The membership level is not yet available. Wayne read it line by line. The meaning of the letter is very simple. Although he has passed the approval, he has not passed the review. The White Glove Association can revoke his membership at any time. Without the certification of the association, detectives will miss a lot of benefits. The most intuitive point is that it is difficult to receive high-quality commissions from dignitaries. In short, the income has dropped sharply. If you want to receive good commissions, you have to improve your membership level. The White Glove Association does not charge money, and there is no window for recharging and upgrading members. The only way to improve the level is to complete the commission. The letter arranged a commission for Wayne. The location is Long's Inn Island in the North Sea. The client is the family of a local tycoon, and the truth of the tycoon's accidental death is investigated. Wayne can refuse, and sending the ticket and check back will be regarded as automatic waiver. After receiving the letter, the White Glove Association will also revoke his membership. But if Wayne is willing to take a boat to Dragonheart Island, after successfully completing the commission, not only will his membership level be upgraded, but he will also receive a balance in the form of a check. It looks so mysterious. This White Glove Association is probably not simple. Wayne became interested and picked up the check. The amount of 20,000 constitutional orders really surprised him. The advance payment was so exaggerated, so the balance would be sky high. Wayne became more interested. 20,000 constitutional orders was secondary. Sydney's legacy was enough to make him free for a long time, plus the stockings that were about to be launched. It was more than enough to have 3 boats under his feet. The key lies in the membership level of the White Glove Association. Wayne was curious and excited. If he was promoted to the highest level, what kind of commissions could he receive? Wayne was somewhat tempted, and out of caution, he asked the omnipotent butler. "FLA, do you know Dragonheart Island? It is an island located in the North Sea, with a very developed fishery, a suitable climate, and beautiful scenery. There is a primitive jungle waiting to be planned, and it is said that tourism is being developed." FLA did not disappoint Wayne and knew a little about everything. "Is it safe?" There will be storms in winter, like the roar of a dragon. Do you know the White Glove Association? I know a little bit. It is an officially recognized organization, and sometimes it is commissioned by intelligence agencies to conduct investigations. Oh, can you tell me more about this? What kind of investigations do intelligence agencies usually commission? Generally speaking, the commissions of intelligence agencies are related to foreign spies. Wayne's mouth twitched. He felt a little guilty recently and couldn't stand the word spy. Restarting the myth. Author, Fengchao Huang. Chapter 90. Teacher, what are you doing? In the bedroom on the third floor, Wayne looked at Healy in silence. The latter was holding a magnifying glass to check the sheets and pillows, serious, as if he could really find something. Veronica did not return last night, and it was self-evident what Healy was looking for. Long blonde hair, or golden curly hair. Of course, it could be just long blonde hair. Wayne said that the other party thought too much, not to mention that nothing happened last night. Even if something happened, the housekeeper would have cleaned up the crime scene. After a while, Healy put away the magnifying glass with a disappointed look, and cast a sympathetic look at Wayne. She also shook her head. At your age, you actually have no worldly desires. Don't be embarrassed. If you can't do it, we can go to the hospital. It won't cost much. Wayne rolled his eyes and pushed Healy out of the bedroom. Whether from the standpoint of a mother or a teacher, you are an elder, can you be more reliable? The two came to the living room, and the housekeeper FLA handed over the black tea. He seemed to have made a decision and used the title of MS for Sci-fi. Sci-fi did not notice the change in the title. After all, Wayne was the only master in this family. Calling her madam would inevitably cause ambiguity in identity. Wayne understood, and was very happy. He cast an eager look at FLA. Wayne, how do you feel about the new home? Great, I studied the drawings last night and gained a lot, and learned a lot of new knowledge. Wayne knew what Sci-fi was talking about and answered truthfully. Do you need to add some more people? This room is very big, and we have to take care of everything. I'm afraid the 4 maids can't handle it. No, I don't like too many people. Wayne shook his head. He liked this home very much. The housekeeper and the maid were very familiar. He would feel uncomfortable with a few more unfamiliar faces. Sci-fi didn't say much on this topic. He asked about the students' meditation and whether they had been harassed by Schrodinger's calls recently. The essence of life has been filled, but it will take some time to light up the hexagram. I'm working hard. Wayne looked worried. It was really cool to cheat, but the side effects were very obvious. He had to consume more 4 elements every time he upgraded than other magicians. There was also a magic circle that gathered the 4 elements in the basement of Sydney's house, and at night, the forest defense could block the fog, and all conditions were conducive to meditation. But as I said, it's not that easy to satisfy the appetite of the Book of Greed. Wayne had tasted the sweetness of the transport captain. It was difficult to go from luxury to frugality, and the slow progress couldn't make him happy. He was very puzzled. Dean Plank looked like an old stubborn man, not someone who knew how to give up. Why hadn't he come to him after so long? Could it be that the old man also saw through him and knew that he would raise the price and take the opportunity to make a fortune, so he kept waiting for him to give in? Alas, there is no integrity at all. The world has changed after all. The bad guys are getting old. Don't be anxious, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. You have worked very hard to fill up the essence of life in such a short time. Just keep it up. Sci-fi took out an application form and instructed Wayne to fill it out line by line. After passing the application for membership in the Church of Nature, Wayne can stand out from the crowd of believers and officially become a disciple of the goddess of nature. Wayne filled out the form according to the teacher's requirements, and filled in detective in the volunteer column. He did not intend to join the headquarters of London as a civil servant. Sci-fi did not force it. With Wayne's talent and pure magic, there is no need to waste time in the position of civil servants. His future achievements will only be higher. For example, Son of God. Sci-fi failed to become a saint that year. Although she didn't say it, she still felt a little regretful in her heart. Fortunately, the goddess treated her well. Before the start of the new round of Saint/Son assessment, she gave her a student with outstanding talent. She is now the high priest of the district and can fully represent Windsor to recommend candidates. It is expected that Wayne's talent will definitely kill as long as he signs up. He. X2. Sci-fi covered her mouth and laughed secretly. She laughed and found that it was two sounds. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Wayne. What are you laughing at? I don't know, but you are laughing, and students can't help laughing. Wayne shrugged, focusing on being well behaved. Sci-fi nodded repeatedly. This child is just likable, 10,000 times better than that person. Speaking of that person, Sci-fi suddenly thought of something. She stood up and lifted the corner of her skirt, revealing her slender calves covered with black silk. How about it, if I wear a short skirt to go shopping, what will the effect be? There must be countless people who want to be hard. Wayne gave a silent answer in his heart, took a look and then looked away. Good legs, very suitable for stockings, but this is not what he can see. Some people say they are going shopping, but they are probably going home to go shopping in the living room. Why don't you say anything? Isn't it good looking? Sci-fi frowned. It's so pretty that I forgot to talk. What a sweet mouth. Hive put down her skirt and vividly described what happened in the church today. She accidentally raised her leg once, which made Flora stare straight. The latter was in a trance and wanted to ask several times, but she didn't dare to speak in the end and left the office depressed. Kill. Wayne didn't know who Flora was and didn't plan to pay attention to her. He only knew that she was an airborne priest. From the teacher's words, he could smell the smell of polymer between good sisters. He could imagine the scene at that time. Sci-fi must be the one who was in a bad mood. Snap. Sci-fi took out 4 sealed packages of stockings from her briefcase and asked Wayne if she wanted to make any changes to the packaging. The latter was the designer of the stockings, and his opinion was very important. Wayne took a look at it. The packaging was simple and in line with the style of this era. After opening it, he held up the stockings with his 5 fingers and rubbed his fingertips to feel the texture. Due to the limitations of industrial level, there is an indelible seam on the finished stockings. After wearing it, it seems to draw a black vertical line on the legs. How is it? Do you have anything to say? Sci-fi looked at Wayne with bated breath. In order to show the wearing effect more intuitively, she lifted her skirt up again. Please change Veronica to be the model next time, thank you. Wayne didn't look at Healy, frowned and said, what is the expected selling price? 20 Li a pair. How many pairs are in stock? 20,000. Change it to 50 Li, reserve 100,000 pairs, spend half a month promoting. This is the first batch, the second batch will increase to 200 Li. Wayne spoke quickly about the marketing methods. Promotion is very simple, find some long-legged models wearing stockings. Public places, especially upper-class social gatherings, are excellent promotion locations. Sci-fi hesitated and said, the first batch of the new market is 100,000. The reserve is too large, and the price of 50 constitutional orders is too high. Not high. In my opinion, the first batch of 50 constitutional orders is basically charity. I feel bad for giving away 100,000 pairs of stockings for free. Wayne shook his head, his hand was light and he felt that he was missing a cigar. He said, but forget it. After all, it is a new market. Early investment is inevitable. The first batch will lose a little. Just treat it as publicity. Rightward arrow. Sci-fi was very surprised by Wayne's confidence. She couldn't help but believe her husband's words. It was so natural. "Are you not afraid of falling?" Wayne smiled slightly. "From the perspective of a lady, you and the Flora priest have proved that stockings have a promising future. From the perspective of a man, remember to pay attention to Mr. Austin's eyes when you go home tonight. He will use practical actions to tell you why your students are so confident." Wayne was full of confidence. He had heard many legends about stockings. There is really no shortage of market for this thing. During the war, nylon was classified as a strategic material, so stockings were issued in limited quantities. Countless women would do anything to get a pair of stockings. On the black market, a pair of stockings was sold at a sky-high price. Wayne was not very clear about the specific price, but he was very sure that the first batch of stockings was sold out when it was launched, and the price continued to rise, and it was still selling well. Many ladies drew a black line on their legs to pretend that they had stockings. Only 20 constitutional orders, only 20,000 pairs in stock. Who are you looking down on? Even if the ladies agreed, Wayne would be the first to disagree. Increase the price, must increase the price. Sci-fi believed most of it but not all, thinking about going back tonight to give some benefits to the bastard and see what the other party's eyes are. "You can't eat people, right? By the way, how are you learning the basic magic course? Do you want your sister to consolidate it for you?" "No, Veronica introduced a private instructor for me." Wayne said it in passing, without delving into this topic. When she heard that it was the teacher her daughter had found, 11 Faye was relieved immediately. She didn't think much about it. She was very curious about the performance of the bastard and prepared to go home and change into a short skirt immediately. "Teacher, do you know Long's Inn Island?" "Yes, why are you asking this?" "My detective agency received a commission from the White Glove Association to go to Long's Inn Island to investigate a wealthy man's suicide case." Wayne had just arrived and assessed the risks, and everything was based on safety. "Then go for a trip. Staying in one place all day will only limit your horizons. Young people should walk more and move more." 11 Faye flashed to Wayne's side, raised her hand and hooked the student's shoulder, and thought for him, "However, when you go far away alone, you will inevitably miss home in the dead of night. That feeling is very uncomfortable. Do you want your sister to recommend a lady for you, so that you two can go together and have someone to take care of you?" "The lady you are talking about, could it be your daughter?" "No need, teacher. You know me. Apart from magic and investigating cases, I can't tolerate anything else." Wayne slapped the arm on his shoulder and refused righteously. If his little white cabbage and a pervert traveled together, he would definitely ambush people on the cruise ship and create a cement barrel accident falling into the sea. Sci-fi had no choice but to give up. That night, Willie came as agreed. The gym was very close to Wayne's house, and she still planned to stay overnight. She even brought a few sets of clothes and some daily necessities for girls. The 2 suitcases were filled to the brim. She was not shy at all and completely regarded this as her own home. Wayne didn't know how to evaluate this kind of free behavior. He felt that if he exerted a little force, he could get the unguarded Willie drunk at any time and get what he wanted. It's a pity that he couldn't taste it. The magic girl trusted him so much, but he was thinking about getting her drunk. This was too tentacle-like. In order to witness friendship and respect Willie's trust, Wayne decided not to be defensive and not to be outdone by the other party. Afterwards, Chris came as promised. She had research courses at school during the day and could only tutor Wayne in basic magic at night. In order to facilitate the round trip, she also brought 2 suitcases. Some simple daily necessities, and the rest are all the textbooks she compiled. If it is too late, stay overnight and go back to school the next day. What a good girl, well educated, gentle and generous, and especially honest. Wayne looked at the box full of textbooks, and at that moment he even thought of the name of the child. Butler Fla lowered his head and left, with a single eye flashing with an ambiguous light. He felt it necessary to clear out a room as a nursery. It is better to be prepared, it will come in handy sooner or later anyway. A moment before dinner, Veronica came to Wayne's house with a dark face. Domestic violence. I don't know what happened, my father was beaten again, and he broke out of the window with a bang and fell on the lawn in the garden. Ask him, he doesn't say anything, he covers his face and hesitates. Seems to be quite happy. Veronica can no longer understand this family. She hates her parents' discord and her mother's abuse of violence. If there is any conflict, they can sit down and communicate properly. Why do you hit people when you disagree? In comparison, Wayne's house is not so stressful, surrounded by green forests and very peaceful. Veronica. Your house is really lively. It's okay, we are all friends, why don't you move in and live here for a few days? Dream on, I won't move in. Veronica hummed and moaned, and learned that Willie had already decorated her room, and Chris was ready to stay for a while in the future, and sat down at the dining table alone angrily. I will go on a long trip in a while, and the housekeeper has made the keys for you. You can come here at any time, don't treat yourself as an outsider. Wayne said what he really thought, he didn't treat the three of them as outsiders. After dinner, Wayne invited teacher Chris to the study. As a studious student, he has been eager for one-on-one tutoring for a long time. Wayne is very self-aware, thinking that with his IQ, the senior sister will have to teach him for at least 3 to 5 years before he can barely graduate. After 3 to 5 years, the senior sister should teach the child to read. Great. Silky smooth, perfect. Wayne was enjoying himself, but just after taking 2 steps, the dragon blood girl grabbed his collar from behind. He braked suddenly and was almost strangled to death. Where are you going? On a long journey. To handle a commission, in the Dragon Heart Island in the North Sea. Wayne touched his neck, feeling that the girl was getting more and more violent towards him. When they first met, it was unnecessary to look at him, and she didn't even want to shake his hand. What about the diary? I have written a few chapters today, and I will write a few more tomorrow. The diary is in the bedroom, remember not to lie on the bed to read it. Wayne waved his hand and reminded Willie not to make noise or run back and forth in the corridor. Studying requires a quiet environment. After that, he closed the study door and locked it from the inside. Click. Veronica and Willie looked at the closed door, staring at each other, and the 2 golden heads came together and listened to the door for a while. After a while, the 2 left mumbling, and it was unknown what they said. On August 5th, the black car stopped at the port of Lund. Wayne got out of the car, took the suitcase handed to him by Fra, waved goodbye and boarded the Polaris with the boat ticket. In an open-air cafe not far away, actress Lily Hayworth put on sunglasses, lit the photo in her hand and put it in the ashtray. Wayne.